From the chambers again, I expect that this meeting will start any moment. Thank you for your patience.
We do have a quorum. Clerk Hart, you just let me know.
SCCTV? I didn't hear them either. Hang on a second, we'll check. And we're ready whenever you are, Commissioner.
This is Commission President Toshiko Hasegawa reconvening the regular meeting of September 9th, 2025. The time is 12:11 p.m. We're meeting in person today at the Port of Seattle Headquarters Building and Commission Chambers, as well as virtually on Microsoft Teams. Commissioner Cho is absent and excused from attendance. Clerk Hart, please call the roll for all the commissioners who are here.
Thank you. Beginning with Commissioner Calkins.
Here.
Thank you. Commissioner Felleman is
in the building.
okay. He'll be joining us here shortly. Commissioner Hasegawa.
Present.
Thank you. Commissioner Mohammed.
Present.
Thank you. We do have a quorum.
Thank you, Clerk Hart. So a few housekeeping items before we begin. For everyone who's in the meeting room here today, thank you for being here. We kindly request that you please turn off your cell phones or put them onto silent mode. For anyone participating on Microsoft Teams, please mute your speakers when not actively speaking or presenting, and note for the record, we have been joined by Commissioner Felleman. Please keep your cameras off unless you are a commissioner or a member of staff participating virtually and are actively addressing the commission. Members of the public addressing the commission during public comment may turn on their cameras when their name's called to speak, and will turn them back off again at the conclusion of remarks. And for anyone at the dais, please turn your computers to silent, as well as your phones, and please also remember to address your request to speak through the chair and wait to speak until you have been recognized. You'll turn your microphones on and off as needed. All of the items noted here will ensure a smooth meeting. Thank you very much. All of our votes today will be taken by the roll call method or by general consent, so it's clear to anyone participating virtually how the votes are cast. Commissioners will say aye or nay when their names are called. And I'd like to acknowledge that we are meeting on the ancestral lands and the waters of the Coast Salish peoples with whom we share a commitment to steward these natural resources for future generations. This meeting is being digitally recorded and may be viewed or heard at any time on the Port's website and may be rebroadcast on King County Television. At this time, I invite you all to please stand and join us for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. So, the first item of business today is the approval of the agenda. As a reminder, if a commissioner wishes to make a general comment for or against an item on the consent agenda, it's not necessary to pull that item for a separate discussion. Rather, a commissioner may offer general supporting or opposing comments later in this meeting once we get to that part of the agenda. However, it is appropriate at this time if a commissioner wants to ask questions of staff or wishes to have a dialogue on an item to request that that item be pulled for a separate discussion or a separate vote. So we are advised that Commissioner Mohammed must recuse from acting on item 8H on the consent agenda. So we're going to go ahead and pull that item at this time, and it will be addressed separately. Besides that, are there any additional items to be pulled from the consent agenda or any motions to rearrange the orders of the day? Very well. Commissioners, the question is now on the approval of the agenda. So is there a motion to approve the agenda as amended?
So moved.
The motion's been made and seconded. Is there any objection to approval on the agenda as amended? Hearing none, the agenda is approved. And next on our agenda, we have some special orders of the day. It is a proclamation. Clerk Hart, if you could read it into the record, we'll have Executive Director Metrick introduce it.
Thank you. This is agenda item 4A, proclamation recognizing September 15th through October 15th as Latino Heritage Month at the Port of Seattle.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. National Hispanic Heritage Month is observed from September 15th through October 15th. The observance begins on September 15th, marking independence anniversaries for several Latin American nations, including Guatemala, Honduras, El Salvador, Nicaragua, and Costa Rica, with Mexico, Chile, and Belize following later in the month. Established in 1968 and expanded in 1988, this month honors the cultures, histories, and contributions of Hispanic and Latinx Americans, reflecting heritage rooted across Latin America. Here at the port, our employee resource group, Latinos Unidos, leads commemorations, creating opportunities for celebration, reflection, and learning. This is a particularly important time to celebrate our Latinos community and acknowledge their many contributions to Washington State and the port. We have presenters this afternoon, Leanne Sherrato, Deputy Chief of Staff, Commission Office, Judy Rodriguez, Landside Parking Services Admin, Rocio Trujillo, PCS Construction Project Manager. So I begin with Leanne.
Good afternoon, Commissioners and Executive Director Metrick. For the record, I'm Leanne Sherrato, Deputy Chief of Staff to the Port of Seattle Commission. On behalf of Latinos Unidos, thank you for the opportunity to acknowledge Latino Heritage Month together. Let's be clear, Latino heritage is not just history, it's a living force that continues to shape the nation every single day. Our community is on the front lines of the economy, the culture, and the struggle for justice. But we also know the reality. Too many Latino families still live with the fear of being separated. Too many workers are treated as disposable when in truth, they are indispensable. Too many of our children are denied equal opportunities while carrying the weight of their parents' sacrifices. And yet, despite all of this, our community refuses to be silent. We are organizers, educators, and innovators. We are voters, leaders, and creators of change. We don't just survive hardship, we transform it into power. To honor Latino heritage is to honor resilience, creativity, and leadership. It is to affirm that our future as a nation is stronger when Latino voices are not only heard, but amplified. This proclamation is a reminder that our contributions matter, our struggles must be acknowledged, our presence belongs at every table of decision-making and power. It is also recognition that the Port of Seattle sees us, stands with us, and acknowledges that our fight for dignity and equity is the fight for a stronger, more inclusive future. With deep pride and gratitude, I will now turn it over to Rocio and Judy to read the proclamation.
Thank you. Proclamation of the Port of Seattle Commission. Whereas Hispanic and Latino communities have been nationally recognized for their history, cultures, and influence, dating back to President Lyndon Johnson, National Historic Heritage Week, proclamation on September 17, 1968, and whereas national recognition expanded under President Ronald Reagan in 1988 and by President George H.W. Bush on September 14, 1989, when the 31st day period from September 15 to October 15 as National Hispanic Heritage Month was first declared. And whereas in 2025, 68.4 million Latinos reside in the United States, representing over 20% of the total United States population. Of those, over 8.1 million live in Washington state. King County's population include over 190,000 Latinos, with generations of whom help shape our society, economy, culture, and values. And whereas the theme of 2025's observance is collective heritage, honoring the past, inspiring the future. The team invites us to connect with our Latino heritage and community and encourage us to ensure that all voices are represented and welcome to help build stronger communities and a stronger nation. And I'll take over, Judy. Thank you.
Thank you. As whereas Latino history is American history, and honoring the past contributions, struggles, and achievements of Latino communities is critical in inspiring the future and realizing the promise of the more than just and inclusive nation. And whereas Latino laborers, including farm workers, construction workers, domestic workers, landscapers, cooks, and dishwashers, make essential yet often overlooked contributions that drive our local economy and support the prosperity of our communities. As where the agriculture abundance of our state depends on the skill and dedication of Latino farm workers, whose labor ensures food security, sustain and local economies, and strengthens the vitality of our region. And whereas deep uncertainty and anxiety have been created for many due to fears of deportation, family separation, and restricted access to essential service, intensified by immigration enforcement and policy shifts targeting programs like DACA, Deferred Action of Childhood Arrival, and temporary protection status.
And whereas these actions have contributed to a chilling effect on immigrant engagement and raised serious concerns about racial profiling, legal access, and the erosion of trust in public institutions. And whereas despite these challenges, Latino communities continue to demonstrate resilience, enrich our culture, strengthen our economy, and lead with vision and determination. And whereas the Port of Seattle stands in unwavering solidarity with the Latino communities and proudly recognizes the impactful work of Latinos Unidos in fostering connection, education, and advocacy, uplifting Latino voices, and cultivating a culture of belonging, resilience, and inclusion across the port. Now, therefore, the Port of Seattle Commission hereby recognizes September 15th through October 15th as Latino Heritage Month at the Port of Seattle, proclaimed by the Port of Seattle Commission this day, September 9th, 2025. Thank you.
Thank you so much. At this time, I'm going to turn to my colleagues to see if you have any comments. Commissioner Calkins.
Thank you so much. I'm probably going to vote for this because not only is it a reminder for us on any given year, and this year it's a particularly important reminder for us to, and for the community to demonstrate our solidarity with and gratitude for the Latino community in the United States. I look forward this weekend to attending the El Grito concert that's going to be hosted here. There are communities where they're having to suspend or cancel that because of concerns around the safety of participants. I was reading an obituary of a prominent Chicano leader who recently passed, and one of the things that he shared was, when asked about their movement to recognize their heritage, was to simply say, "We didn't come to the United States came to us." It's a reminder that these borders are totally artificial, and that we in the United States benefit from the fact that we do represent such a multitude of races and ethnicities and cultures and religions, and that is our strength. And so I am so grateful that I have a group of colleagues who throughout the year honor a variety of components of our incredible society here, and so proud to support this, and look forward to standing in solidarity with our Latino community in a really challenging time.
Commissioner Mohammed.
Thank you. I also echo those same sentiments. I'm excited to celebrate and honor Latino Heritage Month, and so I'm looking forward to supporting this proclamation today. And also our Deputy Chief of Staff, Leanne, I appreciate your leadership that you play in the commission office and how much of yourself that you bring to us, and we get to learn from you, and so we see you. We are living in some serious, unprecedented times. I think for a lot of communities of color, we share strength, resilience in these really difficult times, and we also celebrate because we are resilient in these moments. And it is opportunities like being able to elevate Latino Heritage Month to shine a light on the diverse voices of our Latino community. A lot of the times people think that immigrant communities are monolithic or all have the same immigration status, and regardless of what happens at the federal level, whether policies go into effect or not, the reality is the chilling effects are real. They are real for our Latino community. I hear it in the words of the proclamation. Programs like DACA are at risk. But what I am proud of is in a state like Washington State, we have Keep Washington Working Act. We have policies at the county level that King County Code 215. The city of Seattle has its welcoming policies to ensure that communities do feel safe. And in these moments where we're dealing with these chilling effects, what's important is that people stay informed and that they know that there are fundings and organizations out there to help with safety planning, legal assistance. And so let's continue to be resilient. Let's continue to lift up the voices of our Latino community. And as commissioners, it is our role to continue to hold the line and ensure that everyone feels welcomed at the Port of Seattle, whether they are going through our airport or any of our seaport facilities. And so we'll continue to do that, and I look forward to supporting this proclamation today. Thanks for bringing it forward.
Commissioner Felleman.
Thanks for the opportunity to comment and lend support to this great effort. Obviously, we're able to stand here and show support for the Latino community at the port and elsewhere, but quoting a rather often quoted gentleman named Martin Luther King, no equality without economic equality. And I know that we have the speakers like Luis Navarro and Mike Sotelo here who always remind us of the importance for the port to do as much as we can to help employ and better represent the proportionate character of the community around us. And so I look forward to hearing a little bit more as we continue to make progress on that front. And the idea that we are offshoring the very people that are most inclined to onshore jobs is just an ironic mess. And we should be embracing the very people who are so hardworking and contributing to our community that is completely contrary to our mission and to human rights. So thank you for bringing this forward.
This is, for me, probably one of the most powerfully read proclamations I've heard from here. I can hear the pain in your voice. And word for word, there is so much power. And what you said, that you turned your pain into power. This moment is big and it's burdensome. But what I have found is that that pain not only is the cornerstone of our resilience, But in darkness, that's exactly where we find hope. And with tremendous struggle, in the absence of hope, we can even find faith. And through this struggle, in this time period of darkness and burden, we have found deep connections to ourselves and our purpose, and connection to each other. Latinos Unidos is a beautiful name for an incredibly important group, and an incredibly important piece of our port community. Where we see reflections of hope and faith is in you. Although that Supreme Court decision came down unceremoniously with no full briefing and no oral argument, there was dissent. Our own Justice Sonia Sotomayor said, "We should not have to live in a country where a government can seize anyone who looks Latino, speaks Spanish, and appears to work a low-wage job, rather than stand idly by while our constitutional freedoms are lost. I dissent." Indeed, our Constitution is both fragile and ferocious. And you have people among you, including at the Commission, who are going to work hand in hand to fight for justice and for freedom and for fairness. So thank you for bringing this beautifully written and spoken document and proclamation before us, for everyone to hear and for us to act upon. With that, I will look to my colleagues for a motion and a second to adopt the proclamation as presented.
So moved.
Second?
The motion's been made by Commissioner Mohammed and seconded by Commissioner Calkins. Additional comments from my colleagues? Seeing none, Clerk Hart, please call the roll.
Thank you, with pleasure, beginning with Commissioner Calkins.
Aye.
Thank you, Commissioner Fellman.
Aye.
Thank you, Commissioner Mohammed.
Aye.
Thank you, Commissioner Hasakawa.
Aye.
Thank you. 4 ayes, 0 nays for this item.
The motion carries unanimously. Muchísimas gracias. Next on our agenda is the Executive Director's report. Executive Director Metric, you have the floor.
Thank you, President Hasagawa. Good afternoon, Commissioners. Before I share a few updates, I want to pause and acknowledge that this Thursday marks the 24th anniversary of the September 11th attacks on our nation. For me, each anniversary of 9/11 is an opportunity to honor those first responders and civilian heroes who took action to protect others that day, and many who made the ultimate sacrifice. It's also a moment to reflect on the resilience we've built since that time as a nation and here at the Port of Seattle. We are better prepared now to anticipate risks, be better prepared, and are ready to respond to threats. The best way that we can honor those heroes is by remembering their sacrifice and by continuing to remain vigilant and prepared. Here at the Port, our staff, led by our police and fire departments, embody that commitment every day, keeping safety and security at the center of everything we do for the traveling public and for our community. What happened 24 years ago still touches our lives in ways both visible and unseen. It's important that we always remember and never forget. A remembrance ceremony is scheduled this Thursday morning at 6:30 at Fire Station 1. Switching to operations, as the busy summer travel season begins to wind down, I'm pleased to report that 8 out of the 10 busiest travel days in the history of our airport occurred over the last 3 months, with 5 of those 8 days occurring in August alone. These historic passenger volumes, all occurring while several projects hit major milestones, is a true testament to the caliber of our staff. Thank you to all the teams for elevating the passenger experience, continuing to deliver on major projects during this busy period, and for keeping our operations running smoothly and safely. Continuing with operations, I want to give a brief update on the Flight Corridor Management Program at SEA. The FAA requires the port to identify and manage obstructions, typically trees, that could impact aircraft takeoffs and landings, including irregular operations that may be off our typical flight path. The program runs on a regular cycle about every 5 years to identify and remove obstructions. It also includes on-site site management to support healthy ecological communities after removals. Replacement requirements vary depending on whether the trees are on port property, private property, or in nearby jurisdictions. The port coordinates directly with commercial and private property owners. In this phase, we have no obstructions to remove from private property, so we are working with local jurisdictions to ensure trees are replaced according to their own requirements. I want to note that the SEPA comment period for this ends September 11th. Switching to the waterfront, things are happening. The Elliott Bay Connections project has opened the upgraded West Thomas Street overpass. After just 4 weeks of construction, pedestrians and cyclists are already benefiting from the ADA enhancements and safer trail alignments. On the same day, the Elliott Bay Trail through Terminal 91 closed for long-anticipated improvements. And last week, we had news media out to observe the removal of the old bike bridge. In the next 3 weeks, construction crews will remove the old bike bridge, widen narrow sections, and install new paving. I want to acknowledge Commissioner Fellman's years-long efforts to make this project a reality. It is a major improvement in terms of safety and access for the trail. And all of these efforts contribute to a grand revisioning of the central waterfront, which I got a chance, along with Commissioner Calkins, to participate in and celebrate this past weekend at the official grand opening of Waterfront Park. Hosted by Friends of Waterfront Park in the city of Seattle, this event was a once-in-a-generation moment filled with music, food, art, and joy. From Railroad Way South to Pier 62 and across the new Overlook Walk, thousands of community members came together to celebrate Seattle's reconnection to the waterfront. As part of the community celebration, the port hosted its own event on the rooftop at Pier 66, where we welcome families to a festive atmosphere with cotton candy, gelato, activities, and music. The day reflected years of planning and partnership, and it was an important opportunity for the port to showcase our role in creating a vibrant, accessible waterfront. Looking ahead, there will be additional community events at port facilities, including Salsa Under the Stars on September 11th and 12th on the North Pier apron and inside Elliott Hall, and roller skating at the pier on October 10th. These events continue the momentum of reconnecting our community to the waterfront, and I appreciate all the work from our staff in making these connections and working with the Friends of the Waterfront. And I have one more community highlight to share. The annual Fall Fishermen's Festival takes place this Saturday at Fishermen's Terminal. This event celebrates the North Pacific Fishing Fleet, educates the public about the fishing industry, and raises funds for the Seattle Fishermen's Memorial, which supports the families of fishermen lost at sea. It's a spectacular day for families with fun activities. The pirate bouncy ship is always very popular, and great food. I hope you can make it there. Moving to today's commission meeting, the theme seems to be infrastructure. And I'd like to highlight a few items on today's agenda. On our consent agenda, I'd like to highlight an order that renames the South King County Community Impact Fund to the South King and Port Communities Fund to reflect an expanded geographic reach. It'll also refocus the economic recovery programs, economic opportunities for communities to support long-term stability, and broadens funding to equity index identified areas while continuing to prioritize 6 near-port airport communities. Also on our consent agenda is a request for design, permitting, and demolition of Fishermen's Terminal C14 Downey building, along with design and permitting for entry and exit paving improvements, which together will remove an unsafe structure, repave the entrance, and deliver upgraded infrastructure and wayfinding. A third item of note on the consent agenda is an order authorizing me to take a professor of practice position with the University of Washington School of Marine and Environmental Affairs as part of my executive director duties, which includes my duties include engaging with national and local nonprofit organizations, trade associations, or civic organizations associated with businesses of the port. I plan to use this position to introduce the next generation of leaders to the positive economic and environmental difference they can make by working at a port or in a port-related maritime industry. On our action agenda, I'd like to highlight a resolution reestablishing our welcoming port policy directive, which I'll have more to say about during its introduction. And finally, under presentations and staff reports, you will receive an update on a response to the cyber attack and all that we're doing to emerge as a much more resilient port as we go forward. Commissioners, that concludes my report. Thank you.
Thank you for that report, and especially the mental image of you enjoying yourself on a pirate bouncy ship. That was a treat. Commissioners, I wanted to highlight for you that there is an order drafted for your consideration to authorize the appointment of our executive director as professor in practice at the University of Washington School of Marine and Environmental Affairs. This is Order 2025-10. So to my colleagues, is there a motion and a second to adopt Order number 2025-10?
So moved.
Second.
The motion's been made by Commissioner Fellman and seconded by Commissioner Mohammed.
Could we just make sure it's clear there's no conflict of interest, there's not a big financial thing going on, just so the public knows that this is truly a contribution to the greater good?
We are
And
turning
then
to
you'll
our
be
lead-
taking the class, Commissioner Feldman?
Yes, Commissioner Fellman, Pete Ramos, the Port's General Counsel, and we've worked with Steve and vetted this to make sure that it complies with all our rules and policies for ethics, and there's no conflict of interest. It's him carrying out this job as part of his responsibilities for the Port.
Good. Are there any other comments on this item by my colleagues? Commissioner Calkins.
I'm excited for you. I think you have a lot to share, and I'm also, I love opportunities to engage, for the Port to engage with future Port employees potentially too. So, great way to recruit them.
Commissioner Mohammed.
I guess as a Husky, I'm also really excited that you're picking the University of Washington to be able to contribute there. It's an excellent university, and I know the students will benefit from hearing from you. So congratulations.
Thank you.
I just wanted to offer my congratulations to you in doing the work outside of the Port of educating our future workforce. And we have such a incredible industry built right here, into our fabric as the Port of Seattle, in the city of Seattle. And it's a really amazing opportunity for you and the students and for all of us. So thank you for taking that on.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right, hearing no additional comments, Clerk Hart, please call the roll for the vote. And Commissioners, say aye or nay when your name is called.
Thank you. Beginning with Commissioner Calkins.
Aye.
Thank you, Commissioner Fellman.
Aye.
Thank you, Commissioner Mohammed.
Aye.
Thank you, Commissioner Hasagawa.
Aye.
Thank you. 4 ayes and 0 nays for this item.
The motion carries unanimously. Congratulations. And that will bring us swiftly forward to committee reports. Erica Chung, Strategic Advisor, will provide the report.
Madam Chair, can I?
Yes.
May I? Thank you. You know this, Madam Chair, I will be moving to a virtual meeting and joining you guys virtually. I've been here since actually 7:30 and will need to get into the car to get to my next event, but I will be voting online. I look forward to making some comments on the upcoming items. And let me just also say, for consent item 8H, I am not voting on that item because I am a City of Seattle employee, just for the record. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Commissioner Mohammed. We will see you online.
Thank you.
All right, back to Erica.
Good afternoon, Madam President, Commissioners, Executive Director Metric. I have 2 short committee reports for you today. Commissioners Mohammed and Hasagawa convened the Equity and Workforce Development Committee on August 12th. There was 1 item for briefing related to the name change for the South King County Fund. There was a recommended action, which is reflected in an order on today's consent agenda for approval. The Port-wide Arts and Culture Board met on Tuesday, September 2nd, and welcomed its new public board member, Emily Tanner McLean, and new public art technician, Kate Kwama. The committee also received an update on new art installation at SCA and at Fisherman Terminal, and also discussed updating its policy and guidelines. This concludes my report. Thank you.
Any questions for Erica? Seeing none, we can move forward. Thank you very much, Erica. I appreciate you. It brings us to the public comment portion of our meeting. The Port Commission welcomes public comment as an important part of the public process. Comments are received and considered by the Commission in its deliberations. Before we take public comment, let's quickly review our rules for in-person and virtual public comment, and Clerk Hart will play the recorded rules.
The Port of Seattle Commission welcomes you to our meeting today. As noted, public comment is an important part of the public process, and the Port of Seattle Commission thanks you for joining us. Before proceeding, we will overview the rules governing public comment for your general information. Each speaker will have 2 minutes to speak unless otherwise revised by the presiding officer for the purposes of meeting efficiency, and the speaker shall keep their remarks within the allotted time provided. A timer will appear on the screen, and a buzzer will sound at the end of the speaker's comment period. The Commission accepts comments on items appearing on its agenda and items related to the conduct of port business. The presiding officer will ask speakers to limit their comments to these topics. This rule applies to both introductory and concluding remarks. Disruptions of Commission public meetings are prohibited. General disruptions include, but are not limited to, the following: speaking before being recognized by the presiding officer, or placing banners and signs in the meeting room in a way that endangers others or obstructs the flow of people or view of others at the meeting. Intentionally disrupting, disturbing, or otherwise impeding attendance or participation at a meeting. Refusing to follow the direction of the presiding officer or security personnel. Attempting to use the comment time for purposeful delay without conveying a discernible message. Using the comment period to assist in a campaign for election of any person to any office, or for the promotion of or opposition to any ballot proposition except when addressing action being taken by the Commission on a ballot proposition appearing on its agenda. Directing public comments to the audience. Engaging in abusive or harassing behavior, including but not limited to derogatory remarks based on age, race, color, national origin, ancestry, religion, disability, pregnancy, sex, gender, sexual orientation, transgender status, marital status, or any other category protected by law, the use of obscene or profane language and gestures, assaults or other threatening behavior, and misconduct or sexual harassment. For safety purposes, individuals are asked not to physically approach commissioners or staff at the meeting table during the meeting. Individuals may provide written public comment before or after the meeting, and in addition, speakers may offer written materials to the Commission clerk for distribution during their testimony to the Commission. A detailed list of the public comment rules is available through the Commission clerk. If a meeting is disrupted by an individual in attendance in the meeting room or by an individual providing public comment in person or virtually, the port will impose progressive consequences that may result in exclusion from future meetings. Written materials provided to the clerk will be included in today's meeting record. The clerk has a list of those prepared to speak. When your name is called, please come to the testimony table or unmute yourself if joining virtually. Repeat your name and state your topic related to an item on the agenda or related to the conduct of port business. For those joining virtually, when you have concluded your remarks, please turn off your camera and mute your microphone. Our public comment period will now commence. Thank you again for joining us today.
All right, Clerk Hart, I will turn to you to bring us through those who have signed up in advance. Can we please begin with Sarah Moore and then Luis Navarro and then through the third list?
Yes, thank you, Madam Commission President. Just one moment while I get the timer up here. And I apologize for the glitchy sound. We never know what it's going to do. And beginning with Sarah Moore joining us virtually. Sarah, if you could please go ahead and repeat your name for the record and your topic related to the conduct of port business or an agenda item before us today. And then I'll go ahead and start the timer.
Good morning. This is Sarah Moore, and my topic is tree removal.
Thank you.
For transparency purposes, I also want to say I serve as Deputy Mayor of Burien and the Chair of Burien's Airport Committee, but I'm speaking today on behalf of myself and at the request of community members in Burien, but not as a representative of that city. I'm calling to discuss the proposed removal of trees in Burien's Matheson Park. I wish to register my dismay and disappointment that shade trees in a beloved playground are being slated for removal. And what I'd really like is a better understanding of the criteria whereby these particular trees were identified, and also whether a lesser treatment such as crown reduction is possible for them. They serve an important role in the park. I'm struggling with the rationale of their location in relation to the airport and those specific trees in relation to the many trees of similar size, age, and elevation in the same neighborhood. Their loss is a net loss for the community, for the buffer between homes and the airport, for the soil health and cooling capacity of the park, and potentially for the city's tree canopy goals. Each tree represents decades or a century of providing oxygen, drinking potential flood water, and removing pollutants in the neighborhood. So I'm requesting information that will provide a deeper understanding of this decision, which community is looking to me for redress of. Thank you very much for your time, and I appreciate the many decisions that you have to make in this role. Would hope for a little advice and support in this one. Thank you.
All right, and you can bring us on to our next speaker. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Luis Navarro.
I assume this is on. Great. Well, hello, everyone. This feels like great old times to me. I'm Luis Navarro, a resident of Bellevue, and I'm here to speak about the Hispanic Heritage Month proclamation. I want to thank you as elected officials. It is important that you and your colleagues across the state, across the country, celebrate us, Latinos in this instance, but all communities as needed. I also want to talk about the Latino community with a different view. We are really growing as a community across the country. Latinos produce over $4 trillion in GDP, which makes us the 5th largest economy in the world, greater than many of the big economies we talk about. Latinos in the state of Washington paid $7 billion in taxes. We in Washington state alone represent almost 14% of the workforce. Latinas in particular, they open small businesses in greater percentage and numbers than even Latino men, but in greater percentage than all ethnic groups. So we are not this sleeping giant. We've been awake and walking and running. As corporate America, they say sometimes it's the sleeping giant that hasn't seen us. Latino youth is now the largest and the fastest growing group in the school systems. Latino youth also is impacting fashion. In fact, companies that produce clothing, etc., are looking at Latino youth to create the next category of fashion for all of us. So we are growing, we are moving along, we are expanding business, we are creating jobs. Also, in a conversation today with someone that you know, Jimmy Mata of the City of Buring, and my good friend and brother, not a true brother, but I feel like a brother to him, Mike Sotelo, who is with me today. We were talking about us and Latinos, particularly those of us who are getting older, and how the new generation of Latinos. My daughter, she is in construction management and increasing her, did I already miss my 2 minutes? I think the Latino youth are the ones that are going to show how we can continue to grow and represent the new generation. So thank you again, and I'm sorry for being late.
Thank you. Welcome back. Move forward, Brian Davis.
Yes, our next speaker is Brian Davis. Brian, if you come to the testimony and repeat your name for the record and your topic related to the conduct of port business or your agenda item, please, sir, and then I'll start the timer.
Great, thank you. Brian Davis, talking about sound insulation packages, port packages. And good afternoon to the Commission. My name is Brian Davis. I'm the Vice Chair of the Burien Airport Committee, and I've come to advise you that our city leadership has determined the port's sound insulation repair and replacement program is not viable in its present form. At the request of the Burien City Council, our city manager will soon communicate this to you formally. Degradation of so-called port packages has been a problem for decades. As you know, Congress only last year approved the use of federal funds for repair and replacement. The port followed with a pilot program, but testing homes only for acoustics. It didn't consider shoddy installation, which was a significant problem. It did not examine other common issues like mold or foggy windows or structural failures that mean windows will not close. Of several dozen homes tested, and this is my understanding from what we heard at the most recent START committee meeting, only 5 properties have qualified for federally funded remediation. We cannot rely heavily then on federal dollars to pay for this work. New state funding is a worthwhile pursuit, but seems remote. The Washington legislature was asked last year to appropriate $10 million for port package repairs, and all of it was in one way or another eliminated. In light of the state's ongoing budget crisis, it's tough to be optimistic about near-term help from Olympia. Another significant problem is that as aircraft have become quieter, the 65 DNL high noise zone has gotten smaller. So hundreds of properties outfitted with port packages are ineligible for remediation because they're now outside the zone, and that is, in my opinion, patently unfair. It's time to overhaul the port package replacement program, allowing use, among other things, of the original 65 DNL boundary that guided these installations. Further, the Port of Seattle should fund the new program with proceeds from its property tax levy, as the City and County of San Francisco does for San Francisco International Airport. $3 million a year would be about 3.5% of the Port of Seattle's present annual property tax revenues, a small share that would go a long way toward helping people, many of modest means, who have been waiting years for relief. And we look forward to working with you on this. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Brian. We appreciate your voice.
Our next speaker is Ann Crumbles. Ann, if you go ahead and repeat your name for the record and your agenda item or topic related to the conduct of port business,
hello,
please.
everyone. I'm Ann Crumbolts. I'm here to talk about the increased frequency and noise in the Ravenna-Cowan neighborhood. And I also want to thank the commissioners and the staff for being here today and your good service. It's real important to the city and the area of Seattle. I'm here to submit a petition from our large neighborhood, historic neighborhood, because the noise levels coming into Sea-Tac at this point and over the last year or two it's just morning, noon, and night. About every 30 seconds at times, people are having to put in earplugs at night to sleep. One of my neighbors, and this is reflective of more than one, but has decided not to even put in a backyard patio because when we have parties, people have to stop talking after a certain point until the planes finish. And as soon as one goes over, then we have to deal with the second one coming in. We're wondering why there aren't more entryways, over Elliott Bay, Lake Washington, even I-5. It doesn't help the economic development of the region to have residents and homeowners deal with this kind of noise. It's off the charts. So I'm submitting this for the record, the petition, and I want to let you all know we could have gotten a lot more names. I just didn't have the time to go to every single house, but almost no one turned me down, our other neighbors down when we did pass this petition around. I'm very grateful for your time and your attention to this matter. I know we're not the only neighborhood that's dealing with this, but there have to be more ways to resolve these noise issues over residences around Seattle. So thank you so much for listening.
Thank you, Ann.
And I did speak with Ann before the meeting, commissioners, and she will submit that petition to me for the record, and it'll become a part of this meeting's record today. Our next speaker is Grace Delente. Grace, please, I apologize if I've pronounced your name incorrectly. You can definitely repeat it for the record and your agenda item or topic related to the conduct of port business.
Thank you. Good afternoon, Port Commissioners. I'm here to talk about the Port's new maritime workforce investments. My name is Grace Delente. I am the Lead Youth Engagement Coordinator with the Urban League of Metropolitan Seattle. I've had the unique perspective of working directly with both Youth Maritime Career Launch participants and employers, having had the front row seat to their experiences throughout the Youth Maritime Career Launch and over the past years. I've seen growing interest and stronger connections between community members and maritime industry opportunities. From the data that we've collected, we know that young adults need even more time to develop industry-specific skills, and there's still so many folks in our community that currently lack common maritime knowledge and needs to be exposed. As future maritime investments come about, it's crucial that maritime employers are engaged effectively and industry continues to develop strong partnerships with community-based organizations so future participants can rest assured that there is real opportunity at the end. This would greatly increase community member success of breaking into the industry and help more young people transition into full-time employment. Moving forward, I strongly support the Office of Equity, Diversity, and Inclusion's Maritime Workforce Investments. This is a vital step in creating lasting, equitable pathways for young people to thrive in the industry. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Grace.
Our next speaker is Leasia Jackson. Leasia, if you could go ahead and repeat your name for the record and your agenda item or topic related to the conduct of port business, please.
Good afternoon. My name is Leasia Jackson. I am here also to speak to the expanded maritime workforce investment. Thank you, commissioners and executive director Metric. My name is Leasia Jackson. I am the director of community engagement for Maritime Blue. As a proud partner to the port, we are here to support the continuation and strategic enhancement of the Youth Maritime Career Launch YMCL program. Over the past 3 years through YMCL, Maritime Blue has laid a crucial foundation in connecting underrepresented communities with maritime industry opportunities. We have built strong relationships between youth, employers, and community partners, but we are still in the midst of alleviating the barriers and working to break generations of disconnect. This work is far from over. Investing in the quality of the participants' training and support is investing in the maritime industry. We are alleviating barriers and working to build their confidence so that they can be the best candidate for an internship or permanent employment. Giving them the space to learn and gain credentials without the anxiety of performing on the job with little knowledge of the maritime industry can prove in the long run to be more successful. To ensure long-term success, we have to think about retention. This includes providing ongoing support, resources, and mentorship opportunities for our employers. By working with them to reduce barriers to entry, these supervisors gain the skills to effectively guide young talent. This is essential for creating an enriching experience, building trust between, and reconnecting broken pathways. Connecting communities that lack awareness and face numerous barriers within an industry that has historically struggled with diversity requires a sustained strategic effort. We must prioritize quality over quantity, focusing on creating successful long-term pathways to employment. Losing the momentum we have built would be a disservice to the youth we serve and the progress we have made in contributing to a more inclusive maritime sector. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
And our next speaker is Matt Ventosa. Matt, if you could please go ahead and repeat your name for the record and your agenda item or topic related to the conduct of port business, please.
Good afternoon, Matt Ventosa, item 8J. Good afternoon, Commissioners, Executive Director. I'm Matt Ventosa, Vice President of the International Longshore Warehouse Union, Local 19 here in Seattle. We're in support of item 8J with the replacement of an old and outdated locomotive in favor of a new piece of equipment that will not only reduce pollution in our region, but will also provide a piece of equipment that brings safety features that will promote the safety of my workforce, the ILW workforce that operates this. So we ask you to vote this up. Thank you.
Thank you.
And our final sign-up today is Sandy Hunt. Sandy, please go ahead and come to the testimony table and repeat your name for the record and your agenda item.
Hi, my name's Sandy Hunt. I'm with the Defenders of Highline Forest. Although this is not part of my comment, I do want to thank you for the welcoming policies and all of the work that you do to support the inclusive nature of our community. I'm here, though, to, it's sort of ironic. I was going to talk about Sarah Moore. I had no idea she was going to be making comment today. My comment was on the fact that Sarah Moore, who's on the airport committee, had no idea that you're killing 5 major trees in a park in that city. This is a testament to the lack of communication between, I don't know, you're shaking your head no.
We've been in consultation with the city of Burien, but please continue.
Okay, well, she's on the airport committee, so that's who we go to. So, you know, I mean, those 5 trees are significant. There are also, you know, over 200 trees are going to be removed. And we understand that this is for the safety. I mean, that particular park is not in the flight path, so, you know, the community's asking. I'm sorry, your nonverbals are.
I'm just nodding. I'm just.
Okay.
Like,
okay. You know, and Des Moines Creek Park as well is going to have trees that are affected. So, you know, I attended your retreat in January, and I watched the whole State of the Port speech, and there is a lot of rah-rah that goes on at that. And Commissioner Fellman, to his credit, did have one statement in that whole hour on the impact of the port on the community members that are around the port. And so I don't know if you need a different forum, but the people that live around there, the people that work around there, and you could hear, that in a couple of the people that you're already hearing from today, are not feeling the love, are not feeling the connection that you have that everybody else that we hear here has for you and each other. We don't get it. We don't have it. There is so much that we need from you that we aren't getting. So I'm just here sharing that and letting you know that these folks that spoke already are reflective of a lot of the people in the community. Thank you for giving me extra time.
Thank you, Sandy.
Madam Commission President, members of the commission, that concludes our written signups today.
Thank you very much, Clerk Hart. With
I'm
that,
sorry.
is there anybody who did not sign up in advance who is with us either in person or virtually who would like to address the commission? Going once, going twice. Seeing none, Clerk Hart, would you please give us a synopsis of the written comments that we received?
Thank you. I did misspeak a minute ago when I said written. So we have 4 written comments that we have received for the meeting here today. These have been previously distributed to you and will become a part of today's meeting record. Arun Ganti writes, in part, to ask the port to reduce the number of cruise sailings from the Port of Seattle, to lobby the legislature to expand the mission of WA ports to include stewardship, to implement the emissions reduction timetable in the proposed U.S. Clean Shipping Act, and to work in collaboration to support regional solutions to reduce cruise harm. Peggy Prince writes to ask the port to not remove more than 200 trees south and west of SEA Airport, to address potential obstructions to flights taking off and landing, noting that trees provide shelter and comfort for people and creatures, and they mitigate the harms of airport noise and pollution. She states that pilots have been able to avoid them and they are not hazardous. Jen Kropak writes regarding the SEPA DNA for tree removal in the port's flight corridor safety program, stating that they are against the statement of non-significance. Jen states a particular concern around 34 trees within the biodiversity area corridor designated by the Washington Department of Fish and Wildlife as priority habitat areas. They are also concerned about the other 150 trees planned to be removed and underscores the need to protect tree canopy. And then our last written comment is from Lauren Frederick, who writes as well to urge the port to conduct additional environmental impact analysis for the planned tree removal in Matheson Park, Des Moines Creek Park, and the city of Sea-Tac, stating that mature trees help to protect airport communities from impacts of noise, pollution, and heat. And that concludes the written comments received today.
Very good. Thank you very much for that. I appreciate it. Well, then that concludes public comment, and we can move on to the next item in our agenda. It would be the consent agenda. So items on the consent agenda are considered routine and will be adopted by one motion. Items removed from the consent agenda will be considered separately immediately after adoption of the remaining consent agenda items. So at this time, I'd like to entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda items 8A through G, and then 8I and J.
So moved.
Yeah, no.
I just thought if there's folks that are around, sounds like a really good thing, item 8B, about directing, giving the director delegated authority for working with Department of Ecology. I think it's on the Conservation Corps program. Is there something that people can speak to? I'm sorry I didn't give anybody a heads up. If not, we can speak to it at another time.
I think by matter of order, if you want a presentation on it.
No, it's not a presentation. It's just sort of a quick heads up what that is.
Okay. Can you speak read item, you said 8B into the record for the full description, please?
Again, if it's, another time, that's fine. I usually would give you a heads up.
This is, I'm sorry.
It
yeah.
says it's for information only.
This is 8B as in boy. Yeah, I think Commissioner is just asking a question about one of the things that is on the delegated list.
Yeah, right, it's on the delegated list. Is that fair game or no?
Yeah.
At your pleasure, yes.
Good afternoon. Karen Goon, Deputy Executive Director. Commissioner Fellman is referring to item 8B, which is a list of executive delegation documents that are signed that are within the executive director's purview. The one that he's referring to is, I believe, an interlocal agreement with the Washington State Conservation Corps. The Conservation Corps will be providing their members to come in and assist with maintaining some of our environmental plots, or some of the areas that are under permit review that we have to monitor, and they'll be assisting us in doing the maintenance and reporting on those kinds of plots. I can get you more specifics, but it's a $499,000 contract with Washington State Conservation Corps.
Thank you.
Sufficient. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right, the motion has been made by, can I receive a second on the motion?
So moved.
Okay, well, the motion's been made by Commissioner Calkins.
Just need a second.
Second.
And seconded by Commissioner Fellman. Thank you very much. Clerk Hart, go ahead and call the roll and for the vote and say aye or nay.
For approval of consent agenda, beginning with Commissioner Calkins.
Aye.
Thank you. Commissioner Fellman.
Aye.
Thank you. Do we have Commissioner Mohammed?
Yes, ma'am.
Commissioner Mohammed.
Aye.
Thank you. And Commissioner Hasagawa.
Aye.
Thank you. 4 ayes, 0 nays for this item.
All right, the motion carries. And then is there a motion for item 8H to be adopted?
So moved.
Second.
Clerk Hart.
Let's go ahead and make sure Commissioner Mohammed disconnects from the call.
Oh, Commissioner Mohammed, will you do us a favor and disconnect from the
Will
call,
do.
please? Thank you.
I'll join in 4 minutes.
Sounds good.
And I'll go ahead and read 8H into the record. This is authorization for the executive director to sign and execute an Environmental Protection Agency administrative settlement agreement and order on consent, requiring the Port of Seattle, City of Seattle, and King County to perform remedial design for the East Waterway operable unit of the Harbor Island Superfund site. Say that 5 times fast. And to sign a potential responsible party cost-sharing agreement between the Port of Seattle, City of Seattle, and King County to share the cost to perform the scope of work.
All right, the motion's been made by Commissioner Calkins and seconded by Commissioner Fellman. Please call the roll for commissioners for approval of item 8H, and commissioners will say aye or nay when your name is called.
Madam Commission President, that last motion and second was for consent agenda. We have not moved this item yet.
Oh, we said item 8H. We just called the roll
Well,
for
I'll move item
consent.
I am sorry. I got caught up in, we had Commissioner Calkins move the motion for consent. Then Commissioner Fellman spoke, and I heard you say motion and second.
And then we voted, and we all voted on consent. And then he moved item 8H.
I
and then
totally missed it.
It's okay, because then Commissioner Mohammed left, and it's already been made and seconded.
Got it,
And now
okay.
you could just call the roll.
All right, perfect. That was so easy. Thank
It
you
would
so
have been
much.
easier if I followed the orders and Commissioner Mohammed left first, but here we are.
Okay, we are not needed, Mr. Executive Director. Okay, so beginning with the vote, Commissioner Calkins.
Aye.
Thank you. Commissioner Fellman.
Aye.
Thank you. Commissioner Mohammed is not here. She is recused. Commissioner Hasagawa.
Aye.
Thank you. 3 ayes, 0 nays for this item.
And it carries, moving us swiftly forward to the next item. Thank you very much. Okay. Moving on, that brings us to new business. Clerk Hart, go ahead and read the first item into the record, and Executive Director Metric can introduce it.
Wonderful. Thank you. This is agenda item 10A, authorization for the executive director to advertise, award, and execute a major works construction contract to execute related project change orders, amendments, work authorizations, purchases, contracts, to take other actions necessary to support and deliver the utility meter networking project within the approved budget, and to authorize use of Port of Seattle crews to support construction activities in the requested amount of $31,175,000 for a total estimated cost of $35,525,000.
Commissioners, this request seeks authorization to advance the utility meter networking project at Seattle-Tacoma International Airport. The project will replace approximately 750 aging meters with new smart meters, connect them to a centralized software system, and ensure compliance with state energy codes and clean building standards. Similar work has already been authorized for waterfront properties. An upgraded system will be operational by the third quarter of 2027. The presenters this afternoon are Deepak Koshal, Aviation Facilities and Infrastructure Senior Architect and Engineer, and Abhinav Prasad, Capital Project Manager, Aviation Project Manager Group. Virtual. Both should be virtual as I look around.
Awesome. Yeah, we're both virtual. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Abhinav Prasad. I'm the project manager for the utility meter networking project. And I'm here with Deepak Koshal. He's the F&I sponsor for this project. Next slide, please. Yeah, so we're here today, as was mentioned, to get authorization to advertise, award, and execute a major works construction contract, to get authorization to execute project-related change orders, amendments, work authorizations, purchases, and contracts, to get authorization to use Port of Seattle crews to support construction activities, and finally, to get authorization for the remaining $31,175,000 of the total project cost of $35,525,000. And to talk a little bit more about the scope, I have Deepak Koshal here. Next slide, please.
Good afternoon. The scope of this project is to replace the outdated electrical meters with the new standard electrical meters with the latest technology, around approximately 750 meters located throughout the Sea-Tac airport campus. And all these new meters will be networked into the existing port infrastructure and to the centralized energy management system. This will compile with the Washington State Energy Code for any permit or alteration or modifications under Washington State Energy Code 2018 and Section C409 and Clean Building Performance Standard and IEEE 1547. Next slide, please. So this is the comparison of the existing meters with the new meters. The existing meters are very old meters. The network integration is not possible. There is no communication port available on these old meters. And spare part for these meters are not readily available because they are being almost 15, 20 years old, and warranty of these meters are expired. And as compared to the new meters are will be all centralized database system networking integration will be done for all of these meters to up to date in the code requirements. And after having the accessibility to these meters, the data, it is easier for us for the port to assess the data and see the resulting in the cost reduction for the projects. And the spare parts and the warranty will be for the new meters will be available, and they will help us the port facility department to utilize and see the electrical parameters of our distribution system. Next slide, please. And I will hand it over to Abhinav Sharma for next slide.
Great, thank you, Deepak. Yeah, so for the project schedule, we got design authorization from Commission for this project in Q3 of 2024. We started design soon after. We're here today to get Commission construction authorization. It took us about a year from design to now. We hope to start construction by Q1 of 2026 and then have our first asset in use by Q3 of 2027. Next slide, please. So as stated earlier, the full budget of this project is $35,525,000. We expect no ERL, which is just a best asbestos abatement work, and all that to be in the 35 million to be with the meter replacements and the networking. Next slide, please. So in terms of where we are with this project, we're getting, we're about to go to construction bid. We're finished with the design. We're currently working on getting the building department permit. And with this authorization, we can progress towards bidding this project out if it is authorized to do so. Yeah, next slide, please. Yeah, any questions for us?
No, just for the record, has Commissioner Mohammed rejoined us?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, welcome back. Colleagues, do you have any questions on this item for staff? Comments, perhaps? I'm looking at Commissioner Calkins.
Just one quick question. With this move towards digital versions of what appear to previously be analog, do you have any concerns about cyber threats associated with updating the equipment?
Good afternoon. It's Deepak from FNI. No, there are there is no, the meters are going to be digital, but there is a special network that Port maintain, and it is being, there won't be any concerns about the cyber attack on these meters.
Thanks so much.
Commissioner Fellman.
I recall this discussion starting some time ago, and we bought meters that I think we're replacing now, and it's always been a meritorious idea, and I thought the primary motivation here was to have targeted climate, carbon reduction goals to, make these facilities operate more efficiently, and it is a rather large price tag. I'm just wondering, is there any sort of expectations on terms of what the net, are we setting a goal that we hope to achieve in conservation as a result of this effort?
Yeah, I can try to kind of answer this. Yeah, so as far as what I think the port's trying to achieve with this is, right now all these meters that we're replacing are 30, 40, 50 years old, and there's no real clear way of tracking these, short of sending people out there. So as a result, you don't really know what energy usage is occurring throughout the airport, and you can't make the proper adjustments that Deepak's team would need to make without knowing what energy requirements there are. Or if you need that information, you have to send a bunch of personnel out there, do a bunch of reports. It's just not efficient, and it's not a good use of port time. And Deepak, please fill in the gaps here. But this project, since everything will be now on a computer-based system network, will allow you to easily troubleshoot if there's any major events that cause the power to go out. And then conversely, if there's future projects coming on, you just run a report. It takes all of 5 minutes. You look at the report, look at your power needs, and you can easily meet any type of goal that you're trying to go for in the future. And Deepak, please fill in any gaps that I missed.
Yeah, and in addition that it will also provide a good grasp of data, particularly electrical distribution system throughout the port facility, which make it will give us an opportunity to look into the characteristics of the distribution system and where it required to be improved. It is all the data will be available in the digital form, and we can do the analysis. And if there is any bumps or any voltage sags in the distribution system, we can monitor those ones and analyze those faults, that what is making, and then make the improvement on the systems. So it will be more accessibility to the data, and as well as a quicker way to analyze the distribution system, especially electrical distribution system. And if there is any concerns or anything comes up, it can be rectified quickly and in a timely way. But at this point, with the existing meters, the data are, it is very difficult to get that data, and we need to wait for for example, for 7-day meeting or 30-day meter readings, we need to wait for that much of time. But with a digital system, with all these replacement of the meters and centralized system, we can have it in 5 minutes, because all data will be recorded within the meter for at least 3 years. So we will be getting a 3 years data accumulated in meter as a storage, and it will be going to the centralized system, and we can assess that data at any time.
So I think basically before we set a goal, we have to have a baseline. I think more or less this is what we're going to be able to do, and sort of, and then have a sort of a geographically specific point where we can target certain high energy consumption areas. But what you're really saying is, I think, is saying that we don't even have the foundation to set a goal yet. Complete concurrence.
Well, I think we can look at that, and I think the big thing is that we're going to have the ability to get the data in order to do the analysis that you're talking about. And
Okay. All right, Commissioner Mohammed, any questions from you?
No, not at this time, thank you.
Thank you. None from me either. So hearing no further questions, is there a motion and a second to approve item 10A?
So moved.
Second.
Motion's been made by Commissioner Calkins and seconded by Commissioner Fellman. Is there any additional comments or debate? Seeing none, Clerk Hart, please call the roll. We'll say aye or nay when our names are called.
Thank you. Beginning with Commissioner Calkins.
Aye.
Thank you. Commissioner Fellman.
Aye.
Thank you. Commissioner Mohammed.
Aye.
Thank you. Commissioner Hasegawa.
Aye.
Thank you. 4 ayes, 0 nays for this item.
And the motion passes. Thank you very much. Okay, that brings us on to the next item, which is the introduction of a resolution number 3838 related to a welcoming port policy.
I can go ahead and read it into the record.
Yep. Clerk Hart will read it into the record, and then Executive Director Metric will introduce it.
Thank you. This is agenda item 10B, introduction of resolution number 3838, a resolution establishing a revised welcoming port policy directive and amending resolution number 3747 in order to demonstrate the port's ongoing commitment to supporting immigrants, refugees, and international visitors in line with the port's missions and values.
Commissioners, in 2018, we passed Resolution 3747, which affirmed the port's commitment to welcoming the immigrants, refugees, and foreign visitors who are essential not only to our economic growth, but to our cultural vibrancy. It allows us to comply with federal law while ensuring the safety, vitality, and comfort of all who visit and reside in Seattle. Today, we're introducing an amended resolution to reaffirm our values and commitment to a welcoming port. Presenters are Tyler Emsky, Commission Strategic Advisor, and Eric Schinfeld, Senior Manager of Federal and International Government Relations.
Welcome.
So, Tyler.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. My name is Tyler Emsky, and I have the pleasure of serving as Commission Office Strategic Advisor and also of introducing Resolution 3838, an update to our Welcoming Port Policy Directive. Today, we have the first reading of this policy directive, and after today, we will gather additional feedback from internal and external stakeholders and present a second reading and potential vote on this update, along with any changes you commissioners may wish to make at the October 28th Commission meeting. Next slide, please.
Tyler, let me just interrupt you. Commissioner Mohammed has her hand raised. I don't know if that's relation to this item.
I think she does. She'll be first in line to
Great.
make comments.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, and actually one more slide. Thank you. Okay, so first adopted as Resolution 3747 on May 8th, 2018, the Welcoming Port Policy Directive affirmed that the Port of Seattle is, and must remain, a safe, inclusive gateway for immigrants, refugees, and international visitors. This commitment is both a core value and a business imperative for an institution that runs an international airport, major cruise destination, and seaports that all serve a global clientele and rely on a diverse workforce. So since we passed the Welcoming Port Policy Directive in 2018, we have implemented every element of the directive, built strong community partnerships, and fully complied with the State of Washington's Keep Washington Working Act, which was passed in 2019. So Resolution 3838 strengthens this foundation so our practices keep pace with today's realities. Specifically, we bring this update forward in light of recent shifts in federal immigration policies and practices. The Port values our federal partners who keep our facilities secure and move people and goods efficiently through our facilities. Nothing in this updated directive is intended to impede the lawful work of agencies like U.S. Customs and Border Protection or the Transportation Security Administration in facilitating travel. Rather, Resolution 3838 clarifies how we can be safe and secure, comply with all applicable law, and remain welcoming and accessible to every person who uses our facilities. It equips our staff, tenants, and law enforcement with clear, consistent guidance about what we do and what we don't do. So with that, I'll now turn it over to Eric Schinfeld, Senior Manager, Federal and International Government Relations, so we can discuss the updates made to this policy. Eric.
Great. Thank you, Tyler. Thank you, Executive Director Metric and Commissioners. Happy to be here today. Next slide, please. So as we've mentioned several times, this is actually an amendment to the 2018 Welcoming Port Policy Directive that was again passed in 2018 in response to the last time that we felt there was concerns about how our values and our actions conflict with new changes in federal policy. And so really wanted to talk to you today about the 5 core parts of the new resolution, Resolution 3838. Number 1, it sets an overarching goal, restates that goal to make sure that all visitors to our facilities feel welcome, safe, and comfortable. That is both our aviation and our maritime facilities, and it certainly includes travelers. It also includes individuals who work at our facilities and anyone else who comes for any other reason. Second, it makes very clear that we do not deny any services to people coming to our facilities based on immigration status. We do not ask about immigration status unnecessarily, and we do not deny services based on immigration status. It's really important to us in number 3 that we not only talk about what we don't do. This is really core to our values that we want to be proactive. We want to not just say, hey, we're not going to cooperate in this way or that way, but also what we are going to do to proactively make a welcoming port environment. And so point 3 is about creating and enhancing partnerships with local immigrant and refugee stakeholders. We obviously have done this for many, many years, everything from the citizenship clinics that we help cooperate with One America to other campaigns and other services that we've provided over the years. And so we will continue to not only continue those programs, but also find new opportunities as well. Point number 4, we are prohibiting port employees from asking about or collecting immigration status except when required by a criminal investigation or any other federal law or requirement. We are really saying to ourselves, let's review all of the data that we collect, whether it's for job applications, whether it's for people visiting our facilities for events. Are we asking about immigration status for any reason? Do we have to? And if not, let's make sure that we're not unnecessarily collecting that information or asking about it in ways that not only are necessary, but could make people uncomfortable. And finally, point number 4, we will not use resources to facilitate the enforcement of civil immigration law. That has been a long-term policy of the port since at least 2018, but also, again, as Tyler mentioned earlier, is also now state law. And so this makes sure that we are continuing to be, as we have been, fully in compliance with both state law and our values in terms of not using our resources for civil immigration law enforcement. Next slide, please. The policy itself, as you'll see, is many, many pages. It takes those 5 key goals and it really translates them to really specific actionable implementation items. And obviously we won't read all of those here. You'll see those on the slide. I really want to call out 2 or 3 of those. In terms of specific policies, number 1, the importance of interpretation and translation. You commissioners have already passed the language access policy. We really believe that that is core to this overarching effort of welcoming port policy, and so we have referenced that and emphasized that as part of this policy. We cannot be truly welcoming port if people cannot understand what we're saying, and not only what we're saying, but what other officials at the airport, whether they be federal or state or local officials, are saying. Also, really talking about, we talk generally about prohibiting the use of port resources for immigration enforcement. This point about deferral of immigration detainer requests, we do not detain people for immigration purposes. That is not something that we do. This has been part of our police policy, but really, really important in today's day and age to emphasize that as a key part of what we do. And then I think the last thing I will emphasize of the many, many things that are all important here is the appropriate treatment of detainees by federal law enforcement. This has been an issue that we've really addressed very proactively since January 20th. I know commissioners, you've been directly involved. We do not have control over how federal staff at our airport operate, but that does not mean that we cannot use our voice, use our influence, and speak out when we want to make sure that even when people are detained because perhaps they don't have the right paperwork or because they are being detained or deported, they should be treated, they should be given access to their full legal rights, and we will continue to work not only directly with those federal officials, but also with our members of Congress to ensure that that happens as strongly as possible. The rest of the bullets here, I will say, are all about administration, and I will, this is the last point I'll make, is administration sounds like it's, just the boring rote things, but that does include really important things like training our staff on this policy, making sure that everyone on the port understands what this is and how it affects them in their daily jobs and what they need to do to help implement it. The budget piece is really important. Some of these things will cost money. And it does direct the executive director to each year as part of the budget process make sure that we are allocating resources appropriately for this work, and then a number of other administrative items, like I said. So happy to talk about any of these bullets in questions, but just to overall say that this really, really pleased that we have been able to work as the Immigration Working Group. This has been a cross-port effort, maritime, aviation, corporate, having a lot of input from a lot of staff about how we do this well. And obviously this is a very hot topic locally, nationally, internationally. We believe that we can not only live our values and be a true leader in making sure that everyone feels welcome at our organization, but still also operate really efficient facilities as well. That is not a conflict. We think it's really important to say that, and so we look forward to implementing this new policy once we bring it back to you for a final approval on October 28th. And I will stop there. We're happy to answer any questions.
Thank you very much for the presentation. So I have Commissioner Mohammed with us with her hand raised, and I would like to turn to my colleague at this time for her questions and comments. Commissioner Mohammed has been a leader in this work, and so we'd like to let her go ahead.
Can you hear me?
Yes, and go ahead with your questions and comments.
Oh, thank you. Thank you, Madam Chair. And sorry if I'm having a little bit of audio issue. Well, first, I want to thank our staff who has worked on revising this resolution and bringing it forward. I know this is the first reading. We'll have a second reading, and since January, many of the port staff have been convening with community stakeholders and getting feedback from them on a lot of different activities that have been happening at the port, and inquiring about our policies and just wanting to better understand how to provide accurate information to international visitors, also those who work at our airport. And so I'm looking forward to this draft policy directive and the update to be shared with our external immigration advisory group, and for us to be able to hold a listening session both externally and internally at the port to get that feedback back by the time that it comes to a second reading. And then let me just say, I've had a lot of emails come to me from port staff, community members who are also just sharing the moment that we're in today. There is a lot of fear and uncertainty that's weighing heavy on many of our community members, our immigrant and refugee communities. People are worried not just for themselves, but for their families, their neighbors, and what tomorrow may bring. And what I say to everyone who's feeling that weight is that you're not alone, and the Port of Seattle sees you, we value you, and we stand with you. This is why we are revising this resolution today. We want to continue to make sure that our port is a welcoming place, and this resolution and its update is our commitment to ensuring that our facilities remain open, inclusive, and safe for all, while balancing also the legal requirements of working with federal agencies like CBP and TSA and others. And so we'll go through this process, and we'll be able to make the necessary updates to the policy directive, ensuring that we have things like, protocols in place when immigration inquiries come to us, the appropriate protocols in place when federal agencies contact us as well, and just ensuring that travelers' privacy is respected, their civil rights is upheld, and ensuring things like language access, our language access policies also meeting that. And so I look forward to more discussions on this policy directive and its update, and thank those who have been moving it forward internally and our external partners who have been providing us feedback for many years and also since January of this year. Thank you for the time.
Thank you, Commissioner Mohammed. Would any of my other colleagues like to make comments? Commissioner Solomon. Refrain at this time. Yes, please, sir.
So I recall very distinctly when the Muslim ban went into place, we all scrambled to the airport, the governor, everybody on down, congressional delegation to stand in unity about this madness. And because we had this rock star attorney with us, Courtney went and secured lawyers, and I think we broke loose a couple folks. And I'm just wondering, if we were to replay that movie, does this resolution envision that sort of thing as still being within our authority?
So Commissioner, what I'll say is, as Commissioner Mohammed referenced earlier, we've been meeting on a regular basis with our community partners, immigration advocacy organizations, immigration services organizations, and saying to them, keep us in the loop on what you need. Tell us what could be helpful. And so that's a constant dialogue. I think it is very fair to say that immigration policies will continue to change at the federal level. There will be more things, and so if there are ways that we can be supportive of the community and work with our partners, we will absolutely consider that within the bounds of our authority. So continuous conversation there, nothing happening right now where we're doing the kinds of things that we did on that day, but always open to that conversation and meeting regularly to have those updates.
But if asked, I mean, do you see that as within our authority to do so?
Well, if you're asking me a legal question, I will not answer it. I will turn to Pete.
Maybe clarify what you're asking is within our authority. I lost.
Well, I thought we either retained, or we found pro bono attorneys.
So what happened at the time, Commissioner, sorry to interrupt you, is that pro bono attorneys organized themselves, and they were at the airport available to help people. We certainly coordinated with them and made sure that they had what they needed to be successful, but we did not run a legal services program directly as the port. And so again, if volunteers want to help people coming in and out of the airport, we're certainly happy to talk to them about, are there space needs that they have, are there administrative needs that they have, and is that something that we could help them with? But right now, we've asked that question. There's nobody doing that work right now. I think, to be honest with you, a lot of it is because with the updated version of the travel ban, there aren't people showing up in mid-flight, all of a sudden realizing they're not allowed. They're really not getting on the plane in the first place. So there isn't as much of that urgent need for people to get legal services in that way. But again, always evaluating what the needs are and talking to our community partners.
So nothing would preclude a commissioner from calling a pro bono attorney saying, I think you ought to come down to the airport, like Courtney probably did.
Yeah, no, I think, of course, pro bono attorneys can go on their own to the airport at whoever's request if they're helping with airport business. But I'll just say we have in the past, when there are operational needs that are impacted by the number of people in the airport and the need for attorney services, made arrangements for spaces to help to support that when the need arises.
Yep.
Thank you.
Well, what I'll say is the reason why we're bringing this forward is because there's been so much that's already happened in 2025. There was a Muslim ban 2.0 that was announced. We've heard from multiple constituents and cases of increased detentions of people caught for long periods of time at our facilities going through reviews with CBP. We've heard of ICE showing up at our dining and retail locations, handing out flyers, causing confusion among our tenants. We've had folks show up for self-deportations, which of course there is no system for, and there's certainly no direction for that at our airport. And all of that came before an unprecedented amount of funding to expand ICE operations and the unknown implications of that inside our airport, let alone our broader communities. And so what we do know is what our values are, and it's coming to understand exactly what our authority is and what we expect out of ourselves as landlords, as employees, and as members of the Port of Seattle for ourselves when we're facing unknown situations, for the travelers who are in our stewardship and our community members as well, who are concerned and looking for answers. And so this port policy is on introduction today because we want it out there in the community for some of our trusted partners to be able to see, review, and be able to provide us constructive feedback. We're in iterative consultation with some of these stakeholder groups, including, by the way, some who provide pro bono legal services. There's a lot in here that explores exactly what additional resources we might need. Eric Schinfeld talked a little bit about budget implications, training. It also makes sure that we are current with the Keep Washington Working Act, which is a statewide, state-level policy. We are in the verbiage of this policy, ensuring that that doesn't just apply for the Port of Seattle Police Department, which is under our jurisdiction proper, but we also do a lot of contract work with other law enforcement entities and ensuring that our policies are extending to anyone who is showing up to be able to provide us policing services. It dedicates a timeline for 3 months for us to go into implementation, and in 6 months give us an update so that we can continue to adapt and evolve along with the circumstances, which are constantly changing. But I will also say that the other thing that we can do, this for me, when we're talking about immigration enforcement specifically, is largely a federal law enforcement conversation. I think as a community and as a jurisdiction, we've had in-depth conversations about what about mechanisms for police accountability can look like in a local sense. The conversation we can and should and will continue to engage with in our congressional delegation is what does meaningful oversight of federal law enforcement look like in this day and age? And what can we do in the Port of Seattle to be able to push that along? And the core tenets of oversight are going to be transparency, communication, and public input, and also some form of accountability, right? So a lot of what we're doing as part of this work group that Eric Schinfeld was talking a little bit about is having that laundry list of questions that we are directly posing in writing to the federal immigration enforcement entities that are operating in our gateway, not just for our clarity's sake, but frankly, I think for their own clarity's sake, because there seems to be lots of confusion or at a minimum, a lack of clarity. So, so we are doing what we can to engage in the conversations, and while all this is going on, it's our community members and the members of the public who continue to operate in fear and confusion. I just wanted to lift up some of the resources that we've also paired with this effort. We do have a one-stop shop landing page that can answer questions for people, particularly those without U.S. citizenship who are traveling, or for those who are expecting a traveler and the person they were expecting did not show up. So I just want to make it known that those resources are out there. I want to thank folks for lending their time and their expertise. I mean, it's going to be a team effort, and this is really all just getting started. But as a tangible step, it's one that we stand 10 toes down really firmly on. So thank you so much again for your introduction of this item. Are there any other comments or questions from my colleagues at this time? Seeing none, thank you, staff, for the presentation, and we can move forward in our agenda.
Did we have a motion and vote
No, this is just introduction.
for introduction?
Oh, we need a motion to introduce it.
So moved.
The motion's been made by Commissioner Mohammed and seconded by Commissioner Calkins. Clerk Hart, please call the roll for introduction, and we will say aye or nay when our names are being called.
Thank you. I'm going to begin with Commissioner Mohammed.
Aye.
Thank you. Commissioner Calkins.
Aye.
Thank you. Commissioner Fellman.
Aye.
Thank you. Commissioner Hasagawa.
Aye.
Thank you. 4 ayes, 0 nays for this item.
The motion carries. Thank you very much. And we will see this item.
Madam Chair?
Yes.
Thank you for the time. I will be disconnecting at this time. The time is 1:49 for the record.
It has been noted for the record. Thank you very much, Commissioner Mohammed. And then Chief of Staff Pritchard, when will this item come back before us for adoption?
We're currently on schedule for the second meeting in October.
Acknowledged. Thank you very much. All right, that brings us on to item 10C. Clerk Hart, read it into the record. Executive Director Metric, you can introduce it.
Thank you. This is agenda item 10C as noted. Commission authorization of the development and implementation of an expanded maritime workforce investment strategy and authorizing the executive director to contract with organizations providing outreach, recruitment, employer engagement, job training, and career services in the maritime industry in the requested amount of $2,170,000 for the period of 3 years.
Commissioners, this is a request to authorize contracts for the first phase of a new maritime workforce investment strategy totaling up to $2.17 million over 3 years. Funding will support training providers, community-based organization, and an industry liaison to deliver recruitment, job training, employer engagement, and career services. This strategy builds on lessons from the Youth Maritime Career Launch Pilot, shifting from internships to credential training and long-term career support. The goal is to prepare participants for family wage maritime careers while strengthening employer participation across the industry. Presenters this afternoon are Bukta Gaysar, the Senior Director of Office of Equity, Diversity, and Inclusion, Robert Brown, Workforce Development Program Manager and Data Analyst, and Anna Pavlik, Workforce Development Director. Thank you, Anna.
Thank you, Executive Director Metric. Good afternoon, Commissioners. My name is Bukta Gaysar, Senior Director of Office of Equity, Diversity, and Inclusion. I am very happy to be here today with you, along with my colleagues, Anna and Robert, to present the findings and evaluation of our last 3 years of a pilot program. 3 years ago, Commissioner Mohammed proposed a motion with full support from commissioners that launched a youth maritime career launch, and that had a number of important components of an internship program that we supported by Urban League and Maritime Blue to recruit and enroll young people in training programs and place them at interns with maritime employers. We have funded this program and implemented it for the last 3 years, and we're now here with findings and lessons learned from the last 3 years, proposing the next chapter of the program. So I'm going to turn it over to Robert and Anna from here.
Thank you, Director Gaysar. Good afternoon, Port Commission. My name is Robert Brown. I am the Workforce Development Program Manager and Data Analyst for Maritime and Green Jobs. Next slide, please. So as Director Gaysar had mentioned, in 2022, Port Commission had originally launched the Youth Career Launch Program with a $2.1 million budget. Later that year, the budget was increased $2 million to $4.1 million over the course of 3 years. And most recently, in 2024, the Youth Maritime Career Launch was extended for an additional year, and now the Youth Maritime Career Launch is set to expire in October of 2025. Next slide, please. So commissioners, I just want to take you through a quick glance of how the Youth Maritime Career Launch model stands currently, starting with the recruitment and outreach from our community-based organizations, Washington Maritime Blue and the Urban League Metropolitan of Seattle. Following the recruitment and outreach phase, there is a 1 to 2 week job readiness program that equips participants with the entry-level skills necessary to go into their 3-month internship. Once the internship starts, there is aspirations that if satisfactory work has been done, that interns would then transition to full-time employees at various maritime work sites. And to keep the momentum going even further after the program, alumni meetings were held by Sea Potential. Next slide, please. So as a reminder, the Youth Maritime Career Launch had a $4.1 million budget. We project to spend just over $2 million through the course of the contract. And the reason to the shortage of the spend is partially due to the contract of Polytech having to be terminated very early on in the life of the contract, but also that our final outcomes were less than we anticipated. Next slide, please. And just for background, I would like to talk a little bit about the additional maritime investments that the Port is making with Maritime High School, actually graduating their first class this year, to Core Plus Maritime and their STCW curriculum development for high schools, and Sea Scouts Voyage on the Propeller for Youth Maritime Career Launch interns to learn deckhand skills. Next slide, please. And as we look at impact, the Youth Maritime Career Launch enrolled 100 youth over the last 3 years. And while we see the enrollments go down each year, it's important to note that the percentage of enrollment of individuals who are enrolled that successfully completed training and then were successfully placed into internships actually increased year by year. And that really speaks to the refined vetting process of our community-based organizations and the subcontractors as the program evolved. Next slide, please. And again, just looking at the impact of the program and who we served, it's important to note that a large percentage of our participants were Black and African American, and then there was also 20% of our participants that identified as female. And next slide, please. And now I'd like to turn your attention to the big screen where we will display a short video of the Youth Maritime Career Launch at a glance that gives perspective from Youth Voice, our community partners, and also some employers who participated. I just would like to note that this is one of the many videos that you can find of the Youth Maritime Career Launch on both Washington Maritime Blue and Urban League's websites and the Port's YouTube page. And the video may begin.
Honestly, I did not know much about the maritime industry at all. I actually found it really interesting. They don't teach us a lot about the maritime industry. You don't really hear about it anywhere. To live in a city like Seattle, where this industry is actually really big and a lot bigger than you think it is.
We have a lot of areas with tugboats that are going up places.
The Youth Maritime Career Launch is a 3-month internship that we're taking 18 through 24-year-old young adults and introducing them to maritime careers that they never thought existed.
We spent like 1 week on a sailboat, and we did a couple of trainings where we had to like suit up and get in the water, and there's things to learn every single day. You're always working, you're always learning, you're always getting your hands dirty on something, you know?
I helped with a couple of like very small rebuilds and did some basic engine maintenance and oil changes.
So the median age for maritime workers currently is 55 years old. That means in the next 10 years, that we're gonna see a lot of retiring, and we actually see a lot of retiring already happening. And so the need for youth to become skilled, get excited, and be trained to get into maritime trade skilled jobs is more critical now than ever.
Like there's like a gap of generations that are just not there. Like everyone I was working with is so much older than me.
So I had the opportunity to spend some time with a couple of interns that came through this program to Sound Experience. And oh my goodness, they are incredibly engaging. They are fierce. They are courageous. And just to travel around with Cara and Malaysia as they were, telling people about this program and what it meant to them was extraordinary.
I guess shout out to like Urban League and Port of Seattle. I'm so grateful that I got this opportunity.
So as we see from the video, there are many successes of this program, and I'd like to note that 83 participants completed training throughout the program, and out of those 83, 65 were successfully placed into internships. So as we can see from the video, there's been more employer hosts in years 2 and 3, and that's actually been a plus. While we have shoreside employers, we also have employers that have aligned missions, such as Washington State Ferries, that really depicted better outcomes when it came to permanent placement for our interns. Also, the partnerships that we've had in community and the community infrastructure that our community-based organizations had helped us build trust, not only effectively, but pretty efficiently early on in the process. And then I really want to point out that the hands-on exposure was the turning point for the attention of a lot of young adults wanting to pursue a maritime career. And so that's something that we want to continue to capitalize on and expand and scale moving forward. And while their successes were there, the challenges were very clear. Next slide, please. So employers had a hard time buying into the internship model due to internship parameters and the speed at which the industry moves. Employers also lack the capacity to not only train, but to upskill folks in areas that they had prior no experience in. Also, youth faced barriers into employment, especially transportation barriers, but also adjusting to the maritime workplace culture, which isn't as friendly and welcoming as we would like to see it. But continuously, we also got word that partners found it difficult to make real impact and a dent into the industry where historically and still to today is predominantly white male dominated. And we use these challenges as guiders and lessons to inform our work moving forward. This indicates to us that there is a need for deeper technical training up front for our participants, but also stronger employer engagement strategies. And last but not least, more industry-secured and industry-specific career pathways moving forward. So with that, I'll pass it over to Anna Pavlik, Director of Workforce Development, to speak on how these findings have informed our work in the future. Thank you.
Great. Thank you so much, Robert. So in addition to the programmatic challenges and opportunities Robert mentioned, we know that as an industry, both on the supply side with job seekers and the demand side with employers, that there's some big challenges that we as the port alone cannot solve. We are very focused on ensuring that job seekers have the skills they need and that they can replace this aging workforce. And on the employer side, we know that employers don't always have the skills or the capacity to address these workforce issues, advance technological skills that are needed for their new entrants in the industry, and also get the seat time for folks, especially new entrants into the industry, young people, to qualify for even entry-level roles. Not to mention all of the federal policy challenges and opportunities that we currently face. So amongst this milieu, we're coming to you with a phase 1 recommendation for approval today to advance strategies. Next slide, please. And we see a number of drivers of success based on our lessons learned and the hard work of the staff you heard during public comment with Urban League and Maritime Blue, our strong partners. So we focused with Youth Maritime Career Launch on this scale of supply and demand, job seeker and employer, more heavily weighted towards the job seeker, preparing young people for internships. And we're looking to balance the scale a little more and offer more services via employers, using their involvement in classrooms for post-secondary education, working with them on a welcoming work environment, and doing this in addition to our community partners, making sure there's training providers, industry associations, and the workforce development system that comes along with us and partners with us to make these services successful for near-port community members to gain access to maritime careers and meet employer demand. Next slide, please. So with those drivers of success, our primary recommendations for you today in phase 1 are to ensure that these investments that we're proposing align really well with our educational partners. So coming from the schools, Core Plus Maritime, Maritime High School, ensuring that those young people get access to these career services when they graduate, along with our South King County Port Communities Fund partners, ensuring that those community organizations in South King County we partner with are well connected to these services that'll be offered as well. And as Robert mentioned, we need to deepen the technical skill building up front for these folks that we serve. So replacing internships with more upfront 1 to 6 month long training, which I'll describe a little bit more on the next slide. Next slide, please. And ensuring that the services are customized to industry need. So separating them out between shoreside, which is occupations and opportunities on land, and underway, which is at sea. So ensuring that the folks served share their interests and their skills and their transferable skills, and we customize the supports they receive based on those different types of opportunities. We'd like to expand beyond age 24 to serve adults who are in our near-port communities and those we have partnerships with in the Duwamish, Suquamish, and Muckleshoot. And also, again, increasing employer engagement to ensure that employers are partners in this all along the way. Next slide, please. So our current model, as a reminder, has been internships in this setup. Next slide. The proposed model is going to be more in depth to continue to have our community partners provide this recruitment and assessment, further customizing the services for, again, shoreside and underway occupations, then offering that upfront training, 1 to 6 months of training in phase 1, which will focus on shoreside. Then if you see below in the green, phase 2, we'll be coming back to you next year with a phase 2 recommendation for underway training, which is often apprenticeship, but also sea time accumulation, which we know is difficult for folks just entering the industry, but are a requirement of industry to have sea time experience. Then lastly, working with our industry associations and other industry partners to do the direct hiring into both the shoreside careers and the underway careers as part of phase 1. So working with a number of partners is our proposal today. Next slide, please. So with your approval, our plan would be to continue to work with our industry partners who we've been meeting with, the training providers we've been meeting with, our community partners, to ensure that the solicitations we plan to put out are meeting both employer and community need, and with the goal of executing contracts by mid next year to offer services through the end of 2028 for this phase 1 shoreside focused programming. Next slide. And last but not least, we really want to thank our Youth Maritime Career Launch partners. They worked so closely together across organizations, and we're really proud of all of the hard work they did to open the doors to youth. Thank you. Any questions?
Thank you very much. All right, our turn. Colleagues, do you have questions and comments, starting with Commissioner Calkins?
Thanks, Robert and Hannah. And thank you for the earlier briefing. I've been able to kind of stew over that. So this is the second time I've gotten to see this. And a couple of things I just wanted to noodle on a little bit. One is, you know, we've been working at this for quite a while now, and I think this is a marked improvement over our first efforts, which was a marked improvement over the previous efforts. We continue to work on trial and error and finding a model that will address what seems to be the biggest problem, which is we've got a group of people who would be great candidates for working maritime, but are unaware or unfamiliar or who don't have access for some particular reason to that. And then over here you've got a bunch of employers who will tell you, we cannot find workers. And you hear that from both sides. What in the world is it? Why is this disconnect happening? And the problem is, in the middle there is this very expensive process that no single employer can take on and fund, no single potential employee could take on and fund, and sort of no guarantee that you're going to be able to get over that valley of death if you're a job seeker or your employer. And so what I think we're trying to step in and fill is, how do we create that bridge from, you know, potential employee to employer? And there are models out there. You know, we talked in our conversation about very successful apprenticeship models where the workforce and the employers collectively fund apprenticeship programs so that the moment you're accepted into the apprenticeship program, you become a paid employee and you're learning on the job. And the payoff for the employer is you're getting at the end of that process, you're getting a skilled worker. And in the meantime, they're providing real value to you and your company because they're going through an excellent training program concurrent with their kind of early stage apprentice experience. That's not cheap, but everyone benefits in that. And so my hope is that as we go through phase one and on the shore side and then phase two on the underway side, we're thinking about how we shorten that gap between future employee and future employer and demonstrate value so that the participants in it realize, hey, we're going to self-fund this because it's so useful for me as a business owner or me as an employee. And so I think that's a longer-term challenge. We can help be the flywheel that gets this started, but we cannot be the perpetual funder, particularly, hopefully, as it grows, too. So excellent work. I love the idea. I love this is coming from the intuition that you all have from working in this day in and day out, and I'm really grateful for the thoughtful new approach to this.
Thank you, Commissioner Calkins. Commissioner Felleman.
Thanks so much. I appreciate seeing this again after the briefing, but I got to say, Anne, I mean, the accolades you're getting are fantastic. Not that to deny anybody else, but people are feeling the love, and your commitment is great, and I really appreciate that. And your nimbleness. Obviously, we're all lessons learned, and making that such that the folks that are coming to do internships are actually useful, and that there are certainly different skill sets and interests to be on shore versus at sea. I do also very much appreciate my long mantra that, tribal kids probably more likely have parents that go to sea versus the Boeing employee, or otherwise, not there's anything wrong with Boeing employees, but, and so, your work with Core Plus seems to be growing in that regard, although I didn't see them listed as one of the partners at the end of one of the logos, but I do appreciate that this work is growing. The one thing I caught on the briefing, and tell me if I got this wrong, but the Urban League is focused on the placement with the industry, and the Maritime Blue folks are focused in outreaching to youth of color. It just struck me as upside down.
Yes, so I think in the briefing, we were referring to the subcontractors for both Maritime Blue and Urban League. And Urban League being really rich in culture and community, subcontracted partners specifically to engage industry better. On the flip side, Maritime Blue, who has strong infrastructure in the maritime industry, engaged and subcontracted with community-based organizations to gain that grounding in community a lot faster and efficiently. So both Maritime Blue and Urban League took different approaches with their subcontractors, really complementing the strength-based approach and what they were looking for, and maybe what they needed assistance on.
So I can see how that balances the skill sets for each organization separately, but obviously the access Maritime Blue has to the maritime industry is unique, as is the Urban League's access to communities of color. So it just seems like we should be playing to their strengths as well as cross-educating, and I just don't know. I mean, I'm all for everybody playing together. It's just like we've got some urgency. I have one other point, but do you want to reply to that?
Yeah, and that's a great point. I think the way the contract was created, it made Urban League and Maritime Blue equals in setting out to the same mission. But I agree that moving forward, we should be really aligned in our strength-based approach. And if Maritime Blue was to have that industry infrastructure, then they should really be playing that role. And same with Urban League and their community infrastructure, rather than going out equally and not adhering to the strengths that each organization already possesses.
And both.
And
but
both, yes.
But I really appreciate that. Lastly, you know, I know historically the ferry service has been somewhat reluctant to take on interns, and this has been, I think, a huge change. And I think the new director, Nevi, is primarily responsible for that, as best I can tell. Coming from the cruise industry, I remember his first comment at Maritime Breakfast was, and you don't have a talent pool like waiting from behind. He couldn't believe this. And so he gets it. I understand there was some union challenges with the engine room intern type programs, but these are sort of things that if you need help working on, we're happy to be part of that solution. But the ferry service obviously is it's probably one of the places where the public is aware that there is a shortage. As a regular ferry goer, I can assure you we're aware. But the fact that we should be celebrating them is all I'm saying. The recognition that we are placing these students, that maybe the students could be spokespeople for how great it is to work for the ferry service. Let us be a self-fulfilling message here. There are opportunities to be had, and there's a pretty welcoming policy that they have. Similarly with the other folks in the maritime industry, we should be recognizing that they're contributing, and that just give them more exposure so kids who are interested might be able to do that. Last thing, while the ultimate measure of success is placement in the industry, right? That's right, career-connected learning, right? But we have to walk before we can run as well. So contact is another number to look at. How many people are we touching? And some percentage of those will go to the next one. We could be a feeder program to Maritime High School, a feeder program to the next thing. And so that's one of the things I'm excited about Core Plus, right? You just kind of like smear it across the schools. Some will bite, some won't, but they kind of get exposure, right? And so I'm just wondering, in terms of into the future, that's another measure, just the touch effect. And hopefully, as that grows, so will the food chain grow as well. Just another measure.
Definitely. We'll be reporting to you annually with our Workforce Development Annual Report and include that as a metric.
Well, thank you so much. I just want to say my favorite port programs are the ones that are connecting historically excluded groups, women, people of color, immigrants, refugees, to industry jobs and opportunities. And this is really one of, I think, my favorite programs. And not least of which because I see babies that I knew when they were in the womb growing up to have an interest in maritime. That is like, that's their parents must be so proud. I appreciate Commissioner Fellman's questions because I've got some thoughts and questions along the same line. When we're talking about the partnership and the role that Urban League and Maritime Blue play, I agree that we need to play to the strengths. And when he's talking about the measures of success, one of the measures that I really look to is that actual graduation rate, right? I've seeing kids be retained and make it through the program the whole way through is important as the idea. And there's just such a huge discrepancy between the graduation rates. It just makes me wonder causation there, and how you all have thought about that and how funds will be allocated and or how you're making adjustments to the program.
Do you want me to take that? Sure. So what the graduation rate, I think, is related to when they completed an internship. So over a 3-month course, I would say that from what we learned from the providers, Maritime Blue and Urban League, is that there are a number of reasons youth drop off, right? And part of this is geography. If we are working with South King County community members, but asking them to go work for employers in Ballard, right, there's a disconnect there. So in our planning for this next phase, we're thinking very much about geography, particularly if we're going to be offering a 1 to 6 month long training. We want it to be as close to community as possible for our Nearport community members, and also have the wraparound supports provided by trusted community partners so that those partners know what issues folks might have while they're in training so that they can stay and finish and move into the careers. In addition, we're looking at stipends and other ways to incentivize folks to be able to stay in training and complete.
Okay, so this is like beyond any internship. I mean, this is really just the whole package. I really love how this program is evolving to include career services so that these folks are getting exposure and familiarity and gaining interest and even placement, but that we're building their holistic toolbox with things that they can deploy later on to continue to be successful. Those services like building a resume, for example, how to interview. That holistic approach is just one that I think really sets this program apart and makes it really great. In terms of participation, program participation, can you go to slide, I think it's slide 6, that talks about demographics of the program participants. So is this through like a self-identification or self-evaluation, or like does Urban League self-report?
So that is correct. This is from reports
Slide
that
7, maybe it's slide 7. It's the demographics one.
Next slide.
Yeah.
Yeah, these are report numbers that are taken out of the reports that are twice a year from both Urban League and Maritime Blue.
Okay.
Self-reported, yeah.
Self-reported.
Yeah, I just want to call it out. The Pacific Islander and also the Native American indigenous communities have historic relationships to the water and the Pacific waters specifically, and so it seems to me there might be interest there. And I'm just wondering how outreach and engagement is conducted. If they report that to you, I know that we've got a lot of CBO relationships within the Port of Seattle. Can we help guide that? I'm wondering, are people applying and then get denied, or do we have a 100% acceptance rate? Like, how does participation happen?
Yeah, I could answer that. So participation happens, right? We want to include as many participants as possible. We have to make sure that there are employers at the end that are willing to take on these individuals as interns. And so a part that goes into deciding how many interns we can take into each cohort really depends on the employer engagement for that season and how many employers are willing to, one, take on an intern, but also then accept the intern as their intern after their initial interview phase. So one parameter is employer buy-in, but also the other parameter is if we're talking about geographical settings, if the intern is prepped and ready to go both geographically and in their mindset for a successful internship period.
Do we check within, like, interest within our own institution, for example, like the dive team or just to our neighbors like the Coast Guard? Like, how do we maximize opportunities for these youth?
If I could add, Commissioners, that the Port of Seattle has 2 MOUs with one with the Muckleshoot tribe and one with the Suquamish tribe, which has elements of increasing internship opportunities as well as workforce opportunities, and we are working with Core Plus to really increase visibility, knowledge, understanding of maritime careers in the high schools at Suquamish and Muckleshoot. And I really hope that, as Commissioner Calkins also spoke, that we can build a stronger, comprehensive continuum of programs that really from high schools into training programs and colleges continues to engage youth from tribes and also to see increased Pacific Islander participation.
And then, is there any cost whatsoever to the program participants, whether it's an application fee or, time that they have to take off from, is there any cost whatsoever to the participants?
Not in phase 1 for these shoreside opportunities and direct hire into the underway. When we think about phase 2 and we come back to you, where underway training, to Commissioner Calkins' earlier point, the apprentice often has to take on a large financial burden unless they receive scholarships. And so we're thinking through strategy about how we minimize the cost in phase 2. But in phase 1, there should be no cost that the participant will need to pay themselves.
And just by participation, I know what our goal is placement. Is there any sort of certification or something that gives folks an edge while they're going on to compete for professional placement in industry jobs?
Definitely. And so we will be soliciting the training provider, and we've been meeting with so many of them, and they offer a variety of certifications. So we won't know until the training provider is chosen exactly which certifications we'll be offering, but it'll be industry recognized and in alignment with employer demand. Does that answer your question?
Yeah. And then have we done a calculation of about for what our contribution is? What is the cost per participant?
For the Youth Maritime Career Launch?
Yes.
That's
Yes.
completing? I didn't bring the number with me. I'm going to have to get back to you.
I would love to know that figure.
Yep, I will definitely be
Can
able
you
to get that to you.
give me a ballpark estimate, perhaps?
So the original budget of 4.1 million, and we had served about 100 individuals that have been enrolled into the Youth Maritime Career Launch. So then it would be that 4.1 million.
The 2 million. Sorry.
We've spent about $670,000 roughly a year for the last 3 years.
About 750,000. So the $2 million total over the course of the pilot divided by 100 participants.
So was
So
the original
total.
approval for, you said 4.1 million over how many years?
3.
Over the 3, but we did not spend that much. We spent half of that.
Hence the smaller figure this time around. And
Yes.
where were the unanticipated cost savings? Was it participation rate or was it something
Participation rate and then the loss of the Polytech contract. We'd plan to have a third primary partner in community partner to deliver the services.
else? Oh, okay.
And then we pivoted some of the resources to the existing two, but there wasn't time to do a full solicitation and try and find additional community partners.
Okay. And just given the last question, the volatility of the industry and all the hardship that Maritime's been facing, we've done the most recent calculation. We believe that 2,170,000 is the appropriate figure. I just feel like it's small given the return for the overall industry and that this is a 3-year allocation.
This is for phase 1. We do plan to come back next year with
Okay,
additional
acknowledged.
requests.
Got it.
Yes.
Very good.
Yes.
Okay, very good. Great, okay, yes, Commissioner Fellman.
Like the tribes who's doesn't need to be convinced that the water is a good thing, we have all these veterans that are already mariners in the Coast Guard, in the Navy, and they are looking for the next thing to do. They get out early. And when we were on the Coast Guard cutter, it's not Beagle, what is it, the sailboat, I said the Beagle, it's the Eagle, you know, my little inclination to evolution, but the Navy executive director there said that, you know, his job is to do the transition, and he said he felt he could be doing a better job. And we have, like, you know, we have the gray tsunami to the point it's the bald tsunami, right? We've been waiting so long, right? So I just think we have, it's a new term, right? So I keep on saying this, why aren't we tapping our already trained maritime workforce who are natural, you know, folks? And we have the likes of Steve and Delmas and, you know, direct entrees into those communities. So, I mean, you were saying you would like to go beyond 24, and this is, I think, one of the other motivations to keep on going. So, thank you.
All right, just hearing no further comments from my colleagues, is there a motion, a second for this item?
So moved.
Second.
The motion's been made by Commissioner Fellman and seconded by Commissioner Calkins. Any additional debate or discussion? Seeing none, Clerk Hart, please call the roll for this item.
Thank you. Beginning with Commissioner Calkins.
Aye.
Thank you. Commissioner Fellman.
Aye.
Thank you. Commissioner Hoskawa.
Aye.
Thank you. 3 ayes, 0 nays for this item.
The motion carries. Thank you very much for your work in the presentation.
Thank you.
We're going to move swiftly forward. We're moving a little bit we are actually on time. We're still going to move fast, though. to item 11A, the cyber attack response briefing. Executive Director Metric, please introduce the item.
Commissioners, we recently passed the one-year mark after the cyber incident in August 2024. We're committed to returning and providing information on steps that we have taken in the intervening months to rebuild as a stronger, more secure port. As the main title of the presentation reflects, recovery is an ongoing process. While time has passed quickly and people have pivoted to work as usual, I'd like to take the opportunity to again acknowledge and thank our port employees for the creativity and determination to find ways to continue to perform the port's core functions and minimize the impact to the public. We just recently made a visit to the IT shop on the ETs. I'm sorry, the ETs. I'm sorry. It's going back to my Coast Guard roots, which is a different function. The ETs shop showed how they do the video information displays and the flight information displays. We were reminiscing a little bit about the cyber attack and the surge of everyone around the port to overcome those hurdles and replace and rebuild the operations quickly. But it was just a reminder of how hard everybody's worked around the clock since that time to really restore all of our systems and then to build them as a more resilient system going forward as well. As I reflect back on that time, I feel even more proud of our response and our resiliency across the organization. We demonstrate a commitment to safe and secure operations, engineering, innovation, partnership under extremely challenging circumstances to address both the response to the attack and then recovery in phase as we went forward. And as we began our recovery, I committed to emerging stronger and more resilient port-wise, proving that is true, and that is true, proving true to be true across the organization, that we are stronger and more resilient than we were. Today you'll hear from, we'll have different groups who are at the forefront of our ongoing recovery and improvement efforts for our IT network. Other departments have been implementing changes based on their specific experiences. And I think we're going to begin. We have a number of folks, but I think Stephanie primarily, we're going to turn to you, Stephanie Warren, Assistant Director, Information Security, to walk through. But we also have Karen Goon, who's put in charge of the project of overseeing this, Ron Jermerson, Director of Information Security, Chief Information Security, Brian Kaiser, Assistant Director, Emergency Preparedness, and I think we have Krista Sadler with us here, also stepping in for Matt Breed as the CIO. So we've got the whole team here, but I'm going to turn over to Stephanie to do the briefing. Thank you.
Hello. It's been a minute since we talked about this. I'm glad it's passed quickly for a few people. For some of us, it is still our everyday set of work. I appreciate the introduction, Steve. I think we all remember what it looked like, but just as a quick reminder, next slide, we'll talk about what was impacted. I guess we're going to talk about when it happened. We're just past 1 year of the infection from Receipt of ransomware. We detected the ransomware actors on the 23rd. In a couple of hours, we realized they'd been in our system since about July, beginning of July, and had been stealthily doing some work, moving around laterally, prepping data to go. So by the time we actually saw them and started responding, we had a little bit of a firefight in the middle of the night with them, to which we shut down our network. And at that time, they were able to kick off several scripts that locked all of our systems up that we no longer had access to and had exfiltrated data that they had set up. We do believe we caught them in the middle, which is good because they were able to shut down the vast majority of our systems in that short bit of time when we were going back and forth with them. Next slide, please. Some of the things impacted, they just went and saw the FIMS, FIDS, BIDs, so all those displays that tell passengers, this is where you go, this is where your bags are going, this is where flights are coming in and all of that, those were down. Our Wi-Fi was down, which made passengers heavily reliant on cell phones as well as port staff, which overloaded the cell phone systems. We quickly got repeaters out there and stood up a variety of resources for that. It also made it so many of our security doors had to be manually staffed. We had baggage systems that couldn't print bag tags or tickets. So in one stroke of luck, we had a lot of port employees from downtown that were able to go out to the airport and don jackets and signs and Direct passengers, watch over doors, help with group control. Our police department set up watches at doors and helped with safety. As you can imagine, when our website is down and our app is down, it created a little bit of tensions, but we got through it running manual processes for several weeks. While the ICT staff, aviation maintenance, security staff, and InfoSec worked on the back end. During that time, a lot of departments did quite a bit of work on their own process improvements, projects that had been outstanding, anything they could do from a manual perspective since we didn't have our network systems available to them. Next slide, please. A stronger, more resilient port. In ICT and InfoSec, we've been calling it Build Back Better, essentially saying we will come back stronger than we were before this started, and that is what we've been working on every single day since it happened. Next slide, please. In the immediate aftermath of our rebuild, of which was pretty extensive, we brought back very little from backups, as many of those were compromised. We also had on-site networking equipment, server equipment, file server appliances, because we were mid-projects deploying these. So we took this opportunity to build those back from scratch, adding in some additional security controls, adding back upgraded software, so everyone's laptop reimaged to the newest OS, which historically would take a year and a half to get as many employees as we have, and we did it in less than a few months. We also upgraded a lot of operating systems and applications that were outdated, but again, projects that could take up to a year because we can't have downtime, were done in a matter of months also. So we did not waste the cyber event by any means. We also implemented an automated incident detection response. So when we did upgrades to our endpoints, we procured a solution that they could answer our alerts on a 24/7 basis. Before that, it was a staff of 4 that took on-call shifts to monitor those alerts that were generated. And we now have a solution that helps triage those, see if they're legit, and then escalates to the proper people internally. Next slide, please. So now it's what's next and what's happening right now. As a result of work that we've done, not only in our internal lessons learned, but outside consultants, we have developed a pretty significant amount of work for our efforts to come back better and learn from what we went through initially. We're calling that the Organizational Continuity and Resiliency Program. Why a program? Because the efforts that we have to complete need to be solidified across the port. It needs to be consistent. We're looking to have standard policies and practices around the continuity and resiliency preparation. What's important about that is it's not just for a cyber incident. It would be for any disruption that happened. So an earthquake, which we keep hearing things about, another pandemic, everything that we need to keep going. We are looking at improving those response times or improving those response policies and processes. The executive sponsor is Karen Goon. We are asking for executive sponsorship because an effort of this magnitude takes leadership from the top down to say this is a port-wide initiative. We will respond as one port going forward. And she gives us that push to make sure that everyone is getting resources to make the work happen that needs to happen. I'm the sponsor of the program, and Stacy Unruh will be the program manager. The program should last about 3 years for the actual work to be completed. However, the work that is done within that, much of that becomes a continuous process. Business impact analysis, disaster recovery, COOP things, those all change as our environment changes and as things develop. And so we will keep those ones going afterwards. Next slide, please. All right, some of the things happening under the program. It was broken up into 3 categories, 3 pillars. 1, technical. So right now, teams are continuing to work on known remediations that they need to have in place, implementing more security controls, continuing to upgrade a variety of software, user education, things like that, as well as reviewing some of our risk assessments, or we'll need to conduct a full risk assessment, as well as some penetration testing, which then will grade us. How well did we do recovering and building back strong? So it'll make sure that we have done everything we said we did. The next piece is the disruption preparedness, much of which will be led by emergency preparedness, Brian Kaiser, as well as AJ Montgomery doing business impact analysis from information security. We have done business continuity plans. We have done contingency of operation plans. We have had groups take ICS training. We've had them create all of these things and label their mission essential functions. But until you go through an incident with the level of destruction and disruption that we just had, people forget that mission critical is printing. I don't think about printing ever. I had to print my notes like 6 times because my printer hadn't been used in so long. I didn't know how to do it. Yet no one had that on their plans, yet we now know that printing is mission critical, right? So everyone's going into these efforts for business continuity, disaster recovery, with all their own lessons learned. They know exactly what they need. They know exactly what processes need to be documented from a manual process. Try paying all of these people without a computer and all of your fancy software. Near impossible, but they did it. And if they had to, they could do it better next time. We're also working on communications. We did have fair communications throughout the process, but there were areas that were not reached because we have incident response processes and plans, but did we communicate outwardly that says to our users, our employees, during a cyber incident, this is where you're gonna get your information from. This is who you should contact. We have to extend all of those out for all of our preparations because we can't say things like check your email, check your Teams, check our website, because we don't know if that's available. So it'll work on expanding all of those, as well as those incident action plans, which again, go beyond ICT, go beyond InfoSec, aviation, that says in the event of A, B, or C, this is what I do. This is who I call, this is who I report to, and not reliant necessarily on our normal streams. The third pillar is organizational change. What we know and have known is that we haven't necessarily been right-sized up until this moment with staff. And now we've upgraded all of this technology. It's all fancier, it's all more secure. And now we know that it takes a lot more people to maintain, and it takes a lot more people to have the 24/7 oversight that we need to have. So it also takes more representation at the executive level. So one of the things they've done in the meantime is information security now reports up to Karen, so there's executive leadership for us. And Matt Breed has moved up to executive level so he can communicate those technical risks. The other pieces are making sure that the technology teams, of which there's 2, aviation maintenance as well as ICT, that they are working in a more cohesive pattern. We have had 2 very separate with some overlap, and now this program will help kind of bridge those gaps, unify some of their efforts, unify their communication and their visibility at the top. You can't get funding, you can't get programs move forward if you don't have the right visibility and someone leading that voice. So they'll be working on that, as well as some of the basic things that a public agency really needs to do, which is document management, some of those programs, where it's going to be we'll be looking at changing how we store documents, how we do retention, how we label them, how we interact with our documents and our sensitive data. Some of it is public disclosure, but all in all needs to be secured and not released unless we want it to be released, unlike what happened. All right, do you have anything to add, Karen, before I move on?
I just wanted to highlight the commissioners that you will be seeing budget requests moving forward for additional resources in terms of personnel and outside services, and these are all part of our recovery process going forward.
All right, next slide. This one is actually my favorite slide as it talks about the port as a whole, which is who we've been interacting with. When you have a cyber incident, most organizations go quiet. You hear about it because they have to say something in the news. We did something very different very early. We worked with our legal team, and there was a group across the port from legal, police, ICT, information security, who began talking about the incident. Immediately what happened and what, from a technical standpoint, our partners in the different aviation and maritime industries needed to do and what they needed to look for, as well as continuing to share all of our lessons learned. We've received very positive feedback about, hey, you told us to go ahead and look through these things or get this type of review. We found things, and we know that we stopped some things before they came out. We are now definitely looked at as a leader in this communication. It is not the norm at all. People do not share to the depth that we have shared. We made it a point to, again, not wasting a cyber attack. We have knowledge that other groups don't have. We experience things that we didn't read about in our intel, that were, you know, our guidance people from the outside were saying they're gonna do this, and they didn't do that. So we wanted to share that with the people where it mattered. We didn't want another airline, another airport, another maritime port to suffer. And why are we doing it? Because our goal right now is it's us against them. I think since our cyber attack, there's been over 4,100 cyber attacks of significant size. There's been over 100,000 in the last year, but that's more than 11 a day of people experiencing these significant impacts like we did. And what we've said is we'll never spend the trillions of dollars that they're making. They made roughly 11 or $10.5 trillion last year, threat actors. So our communication and sharing with these different industry groups at our conferences and our different events is just to say, if we are all doing the right things and we can make their job harder, then we actually have a fighting chance. So that is what we've been focused on and have continued to focus on as we're doing our rebuilds and our recovery efforts. Any questions?
Thank you for that presentation. All right, turn to my colleagues. Commissioner Felleman.
I think I'm in the wrong line of work.
Mhm.
So, trillions of dollars. That's a hell of a business. No, sorry. One of the things I was thinking about is, you know, it's a giant ICS nightmare, right? So, and not just within our organization, but to tell our partners. So, appreciate the communication efforts, but I'm just thinking the timing is pretty urgent, right? So if you want to shut down, to go down as fast as possible. I was just wondering, like, for everybody's port phone, like, you know, like an Amber Alert, can you do that? Just like a internal Amber Alert to?
So we have Everbridge that we could use, and we did use quite quickly. There were limitations in how well we communicated. We rely on employees to keep their information updated, and we rely on regular audits to remove things. And what we found is employees hadn't kept things updated, so that'll be one of the things that we become more stringent on. There's also some limited capability. That's just a one-time announcement, two-time announcement, you know, every hour. But that is in play, and employees do know to look for that. I think our communication issues for the widespread were more those continuing day-to-day nuanced things, where we put out calls for volunteers and we put out needs for different things. You know, we had a lot of people to feed, a lot of people to make sure they had somewhere to sleep. We had a lot of that type of care to give, as well as 24/7 at the airport. So working on how we communicate at that cadence is a little bit different than just that blast out of here's what's happened, stay tuned for more. We'll continue to develop that. And that'll be part of the program is for our communications.
Yeah, if I can just, thanks, Stephanie. If I can just add to that, we did modify and use it a little bit for, as I try to go into a daily message format to push something out, but it was a lift and we had to adapt it to do that. So, but as we're exploring, how do we do that with the lack of your main primary systems? How do you get the word out and how do you pass that information? Some good lessons learned in there that we're working on.
Pro
making that
tip,
better.
if you're going to rely on a laptop to do that communication, which is outside of our network, you need a laptop that actually works. So we got lucky in that our service desk staff some of them hadn't been connected to VPN. Phew, because we were able to get out a lot of those initial communications. Potentially something we didn't necessarily think about. We just knew that it was an outside vendor. It didn't rely on our network, but they still needed to have a system to do that. And then if we train them to use a personal system, a phone, something else. So you see how it just starts spiraling as how deep you need to go in your planning, And again, we did a lot of those things really well. I had never put in all my airline contacts or all my airport contacts into there because I thought, I'll call Laurel. She'll just give me the phone number. Laurel had a lot to do. She could not take my call to find out what Spirit Airlines or Hawaiian's number is. And so little pieces like that where we had stuff 60, 70, 80%, the intention is to take it to the 95%. Well, it's not realistic to be 100, but it is realistic to be 90 to 95% complete.
Commissioner Calkins.
I guess I'm trying to think about how to frame this, but I guess in some ways I'm grateful that this seemed to be an attack about lucre, not an attack on our security or life safety or by a state actor. But I just, in the repairs we've made to the system to try to make ourselves more hardened to the potential threat, do you feel like we're better positioned now than we were a year ago when we were hit last time, and in particular with regard to life safety systems and security systems?
We are better. There's a long ways to go, but we are better. And the thing that we're the most best at, I don't think that's how you would say that we have improved the most, is a unified detection platform. We're all on the same endpoint. It's one pane of glass for us to look at. It's one group that is responsible for it, but now we have multiple groups that look at all of those alerts. It's not dependent just on one group solely. And so our ability to pick up and detect if something were to happen is far greater. We were mid-upgrade for several things last time, and that hindered our initial response. And now we have one solidified approach to all of it. And we continue to just lock that down and lock that down and lock that down. So I do think we are in a better position.
Okay, thank you.
Can I just,
yes.
and I think just to add to that one, you're talking about safety systems. I believe some of the most important systems are air-gapped. Isn't that correct on some of those? Or
Yes. So, but I will say this: one of the things we learned is segmentation, mission critical.
Yeah.
But when you only have one door in from the outside to all of these segmented systems, they only run internally. So we had people that had to go and be on site at a variety of places. They couldn't connect as quickly as say, I never left home that first several weeks because I didn't need into those systems. So yes, the air gap is critical. Also moving a lot more things to the cloud. Then what we are looking at is they're not relying on our network. They're only relying on us having a machine to connect. And we are making that move quite extensively. We've been embracing the cloud architecture quite a bit. But that takes time and it takes skill set and all of those things, and now we're moving in that direction. And I will say it was our initial cloud infrastructure and things that we had set up prior to the event that ultimately helped us get back up so quickly with email and Teams and those systems because we had segregated those controls.
Okay, so I just want to say you are a saint for carrying this body of work because we get truncated briefings that let us know the bottom line, and there's just been so many levels over the course of so many days to this incredibly enigmatic problem. And it was definitely, for me as a first-term commissioner, the defining incident for my experience. It was really answered to with a lot of swift professionalism. And sorry, thank you. I appreciate what you have to share about all of the lessons learned and the philosophy that you've adopted in responding to it, which is ultimately build back better. And that's what you can do with something as terrible as this. So there's been other work that's gone on as well via the audit committee to really understand the depth to the issues. But I just want to commend you for all the work that you're doing, and thank you very much for the presentation here today.
Thank you.
Okay. Are we expecting a follow-up presentation on this? Probably not this year.
we continue, we'll probably talk about it in the budget process, like our improvements at that time. and
Okay,
continue
got
to
it.
report on that.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Deputy Director Goon. And please extend our gratitude to your team.
President Hasagawa, probably to comment further, probably if we reach additional milestones or important points, that we'd come back and report back on those as we do.
Acknowledged. All right, that concludes our business meeting for today. Are there any closing comments at this time or motions related to committee referrals from commissioners?
A couple, real quick. I just wanted to note, as Steve mentioned, the bike bridge got a lot of attention. A lot of it was lumped on me. Kira Lease, kicked some butt to get that done. And John Wolf helped with getting BNSF to the table. So that was a sustained effort, but it certainly wasn't just mine, and I just wanted to thank them for that. I just saw that Supreme Court's going to review the tariff legality, which has some bearing on us. But this tonight is the book signing for the waterfront, and I think that's a part of History Link, and I just think it's pretty foreshadowing the op-ed that we wrote August 12th with Steve and I really kind of prefaced this importance of the port being seen as, well, the city is seen as not just a city with a port, but a port city. And so to the degree we continue that messaging, you can only appreciate that what you are aware of. And this book and our efforts are intended to go that way. So thank you.
All right, seeing nothing further, Executive Director Metric, do you have any closing comments for us today?
Thanks, Commissioners. We covered a lot of important subjects today, but I did want to recognize, I talked about the great work that the police department and the fire department are doing, and in our police chief, Viaz, was right here in the room, and I failed to recognize him and all the work that he's doing day in and day out with that. Him and Chief Kraus, to keep us safe and secure and around the clock. So I want to recognize him.
Wonderful. Thank you very much. Thank you for being here today, Chief Via. We appreciate all you do. Okie dokie. Seeing no further business before us and having no further comments, the time is 2:56 p.m. and we are adjourned.